No raccoons in the walls. It's little things. Good evening and welcome to the May 22nd meeting of the Livermore City Council. I call the meeting to order. Roll call, please.
Councilmember Barrientos,
Present.
Councilmember Branning,
Here.
Councilmember Carling,
Here.
Vice Mayor Kick, here, Mayor Marchand.
Here. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. See, do we have any report out from the closed session?
Mr. Mayor, we do. This is Jason Alcala, your city attorney. With regard to the closed session item, I'd like to make the following report out. Pursuant to California Government Code Section 54957.1 subsection A, I'm reporting that in the matter of Lem versus Livermore, the city council voted unanimously to accept a settlement agreement and full and final release of all claims signed by the plaintiff that releases the city of Livermore in exchange for payment by the city in the amount of $362,500. A copy of that agreement will be on file in the city attorney's office. That concludes my report.
Okay, thank you very much. Okay, we've got a lot of business to conduct tonight. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the open forum to after matters for consideration. So item 4.0 will be moved to item 7.0. So with that, we're going to go directly into proclamations and presentations. Item 3.1, proclamation declaring June 2023 as Safety Awareness Month. And I'm presenting this to Risk Manager Janet Hamilton. Let me grab the right one. Proclamation of the City of Livermore proclaiming Safety Awareness Month, June 2023. Whereas the rate of accidental injuries and related deaths, as well as pandemic-related illnesses and deaths in the United States, remains at undesirable levels. And whereas City of Livermore employees and residents deserve to live and work in communities that promote safe and healthy living. And whereas the City of Livermore supports national safety efforts and has taken a proactive stance in providing a safe and healthy work environment for its employees and residents through the formation of the Central Safety Committee and through the development of new safety protocols. And whereas City of Livermore employees, including members of the Central Safety Committee, work to ensure the safety of all City of Livermore employees and residents by providing training, education, and outreach, encouraging continual improvement in the community and workplace safety and health. And whereas the Livermore City Council joins the members of the National Safety Council and other organizations in their annual observance of June as National Safety Month. And now, therefore, the City Council of the City of Livermore proclaims June 2023 as Safety Awareness Month and urges all residents to help reduce accidents, injuries, and illnesses by practicing safe and healthy behaviors in all aspects of their lives.
I will. My final proclamation. Thank you. It's been really great working here. And I want to thank Brian Harris, who's from our safety committee, and he's one of the longstanding members. And we've got a great safety program here. And I think it's something you could all really be proud of, and it will continue. Thank you.
Thank you. Next, we have a proclamation declaring May 2023 as Jewish American Heritage Month. And we'll be presenting this to Max Norman, president of the Congregation Beth Emek, on behalf of Rabbi Larry Milder. Okay, whereas Jewish Americans have been an important part of the American story and have greatly contributed to all areas of American life and culture since our nation's earliest days. And whereas on April 20th, 2006, the federal government proclaimed May as Jewish American Heritage Month, stating, quote, as a nation of immigrants, the United States is better and stronger because Jewish people from all over the world have chosen to become American citizens, end quote. And whereas generations of Jews have fled to the United States in search of a better life for themselves and their families, and these immigrants made invaluable contributions in support of equity, equality, and civil rights through their leadership and achievements. And whereas Jewish Americans continue to enrich every part of American life as educators and entrepreneurs, athletes and artists, scientists and entertainers, public officials and activists, labor and community leaders, diplomats and military service members, public health heroes, and more. And whereas Jewish Americans are racially, ethnically, socially, politically, and economically diverse, with approximately 12 to 15% of Jews in the United States being individuals of color. And whereas the city of Livermore recognizes the rich and diverse heritage of the Jewish American community and is enriched by the cultural contributions of local Jewish institutions and synagogues. Now, therefore, the City Council of the City of Livermore declares the month of May 2023 as Jewish American Heritage Month in appreciation of the achievements and contributions made by the members of the Jewish community, and calls upon all residents to celebrate Jewish Americans whose contributions are woven into the fabric of our country and community.
Yes, seriously.
This is my first time receiving a proclamation, so I've decided to write down my comments, and in gratitude for receipt of said proclamation, my comments will be very brief. On behalf of the Jewish community of Livermore, as well as Jews across the greater Tri-Valley, thank you for acknowledging and supporting Jewish American Heritage Month. Livermore has a long history of inclusion and support for the Jewish community, dating back to at least 1956, when the congregation of which I am the board president, Beth Emek, was founded here in Livermore. And Livermore Jews, including many Beth Emek congregants, have actively participated in Livermore's growth, including as civil leaders and across the ranks of Livermore Labs. It is my honor to accept this proclamation. Thank you again.
Thank you very much. And as I said, we're going to move 4.0, but if someone does wish to, if you cannot stay until the end of the meeting to submit a public comment, you can also always have the option of emailing the city council at livermorecitycouncil@livermoreca.gov. So if you wish to make a public comment for the open forum, livermorecitycouncil@livermoreca.gov. So now moving on to the consent calendar. These are considered typically routine in nature and acted on usually with a single motion. Does anybody wish to pull an item for discussion from the consent calendar? Seeing none, do we have any public comment?
Yes, we do, Mayor. First speaker is Mary Sweeney, followed by Lisa Tromovich.
I'm a board member of Livermore Shakespeare Festival, Spark. I understand that you're up for.
If you could please speak directly into the
Oh,
microphone.
touch the microphone.
I
Thank you.
understand that we're up for a $10,000 grant, and I think it's going to be money really well spent. We do wonderful things for the school kids in the community and everyone, and just Livermore in general to put on the festival that we do. And it's a joyful thing for so many of us. Thank you.
Yeah, and you put on some phenomenal shows as well.
Lisa.
Yeah.
Next speaker is Lisa Tromovich.
And I'm even shorter, so I have to move the mic again. Hi, I'm Lisa Tromovich. I'm the producing artistic director of Spark Theater, formerly Livermore Shakespeare Festival. I'd like to say thank you for considering the Arts Commission recommendations for grants to the organizations that are doing so much for the culture and education in our community. I thought it'd be a great time to give you a quick update. We are back at Darcy Kent Vineyards this summer with 2 shows, Shakespeare's Much Ado About Nothing, one of his most popular comedies, and a show called Silent Sky by Lauren Gunderson, who is a San Francisco Bay Area writer who is the most produced playwright in the United States right now. And it is about a female scientist from the early 1900s, Henrietta Leavitt, who is the person who figured out how to measure the distance between Earth and any individual star. And it's about other things too, but I thought it'd be great for this community of scientists. And our educational programs are back in swing, and we have commissioned another playwright to do an original play, this time with the theme of AI, for our Science at Play program, Prince Gomovias. So we'll be hearing more about that in the coming months. So I hope you take up the recommendations from the Arts Commission, and thank you to all of them and all of you for supporting culture and arts in our community. Thank you.
Thank you, and thank you for your contributions as well. Any other speakers for the consent? Okay, I'm going to close the public comment period for consent. Do I have a motion?
I'll move approval.
Moved by Vice Mayor Kick. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Branning. Any discussion on the motion? All in favor? Oh, I'm just, roll call, please.
Councilmember Barrientos,
Aye.
Councilmember Branning,
Aye.
Councilmember Carling,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Cake. Aye. Mayor Marchand.
Aye. Okay, moving on to item 6.1, public hearing considering the vesting tentative tract map for subdivision 22-005.
Mayor Marchand, members of the City Council, this is your City Manager, Mariana Marasheva. Item 6.1 will be presented by Jake Potter, Associate Planner in the Community Development Department, with the assistance of Steve Stewart, Planning Manager. Thank you.
Yes, thank you. Good evening, Mayor, members of the City Council. Tonight we'll be talking about the Triad East project in the Isabel Neighborhood Specific Plan. So by way of background, the City Council adopted the Isabel Neighborhood Specific Plan, or INSP, back in 2020, with the intent to create a walkable, bikeable, transit-oriented development in the northwest part of the city. So it accommodates about 1,000 acres for about 4,000 residential units. And since that time, the City Council has approved 2 separate projects, accounting for over 400 additional units up there in the specific plan. And zooming in a bit, the project for your consideration this evening is located at the northeast corner of Triad Drive and North Canyons Parkway. It's about 5 acres in size and is currently vacant. And you'll notice the vacant site to the west is the site of what's known as the Triad West project. That was the project the City Council previously approved, which is the companion part to this particular project. So zooming in a bit more, here is the proposed site plan and landscape plan. So the proposal is for 172 condominium for sale units, divided up into 2 different building types. At the northern part of the site, you'll see stacked flat units with tuck under parking. And at the southern end of the site, you'll see traditional townhome style for sale condominium units. The site is accessed off Triad Drive with an emergency vehicle access off of North Canyons Parkway. And there's a 1/4 acre park in the center of the site. The site's ringed by double rows of trees and bicycle improvements along North Canyons Parkway along the frontage. So new class 4 bike lanes proposed, which is a separated bike lane with landscape medians and trees. From an architectural standpoint, the applicant took into consideration previous comments from the Planning Commission and City Council and has added some traditional design elements to the contemporary styling called for by the specific plan. So you'll notice contemporary design, volumes and geometric shapes, but some more traditional color palette with warmer colors, traditional materials like stacked stone, wood, and deeper overhangs and traditional roof styles. This particular image is of the townhomes along North Canyons Parkway. So regarding affordable housing, the project conforms to all the affordable housing requirements in the Isabel Neighborhood Specific Plan, which establishes a 20% requirement for each site. So this project provides 34 affordable units. 15% of the overall site will be dedicated to moderate units. So that's for a family of 4 making about $150,000 a year. And 5% of the overall units will be dedicated to median affordability levels, which is about $125,000 a year for a family of 4. Now, separately, the specific plan does identify an overall aspirational goal that of all the units in the plan, 25% of them will be affordable. And so the plan does anticipate city-sponsored 100% affordable projects in the plan. From a sustainability standpoint, the project will propose solar panels on the roof. It'll be all electric. There'll be no gas appliances. And the project will also use recycled reclaimed water for all irrigation purposes, connecting to the Purple Pipe. It'll also be about a half block from transit. So residents can take the Rapid Line out to BART or other areas of the Bay Area, and they don't have to take their personal automobile. And there'll be options for electric vehicles throughout the site as well with chargers. Ultimately, the project conforms to the general plan, Isabel Neighborhood Specific Plan, Climate Action Plan, Airport Land Use Compatibility Plan, the Active Transportation Plan, Design Standards and Guidelines, and Development Code. And for that reason, the Planning Commission and staff recommend the City Council find the project exempt from CEQA and adopt a resolution approving the project. That concludes my presentation. Welcome any questions you may have, but first, I think the applicant would like to say a few words.
Thank you very much, Mr. Potter. Good evening, honorable members of the council, Mr. Mayor. My name is Trent Sanson here on behalf of DeNova Homes. My friend and colleague Carrie Watt is here with me as well as our Director of Entitlements. We just want to come up here and express our many thanks and gratitude for the opportunities to continue to develop and create new beautiful housing opportunities in the city of Livermore. We concur with all of the Planning Commission and staff's recommendations for approval. It's been honestly a pleasure working to try to bring these vibrant new projects to life. We're almost done with our grading on Triad West as we speak right now, and continuing to roll into the rest of the underground improvements with that project, and are very pleased to have the opportunity to kind of make this our phase 2 as we go to continue to bring this whole block to life and bring the vision of the specific plan to fruition for this little corner. So Carrie and I are here to answer any questions you may have, and just thank you all very much. And thank you, Mr. Potter, as well.
Any questions from the council? Okay. And we'll get Valley Lincoln for you too, as even more connectivity. Okay, do we have any public comment?
Yes, we do. First speaker is Jean King, followed by Tom Mastay, followed by Doug Mann.
Good evening, council. I'm Jean King, and he has answered some of my questions, but I'm still going to state what I have about it. Okay, I thank the developer for building the affordable units and not paying in lieu fees. It's better having affordable units distributed throughout the city in each development. I am concerned about the lack of very low and low income units. On March 13th, the City Council unanimously approved the state mandated house element that identifies locations in the city to potentially build 4,570 residential units by 2031 to satisfy its regional housing needs allocation, RHNA numbers. The housing is divided into 4 different categories of incomes: very low, low, moderate, and market rate above moderate income units. To build to these RHNA percentages, there would need to be 39% market rate and 61% affordable, including 29% very low and 17% low income units. I acknowledge that we're not going to get these percentages in every development, but we should do better than what is planned in this development. On page 47 of Livermore's Isabel Neighborhood Specific Plan, it states a goal of 25% affordability for the overall planning area. This plan only specifies 20%. This development has 80% market rate and 20% affordable, which includes 0 low and 0 very low income units, the most needed of all the affordable categories. In the housing element report, the city planner and the city have fallen short in its housing aims for lower income residents. It seems we aren't catching up with but are falling further behind in getting those low income units. Page 4 of the staff report shows that because of the rezoning, this area is not included in some RENA numbers, it still seems best to build a higher number of affordable units. I ask you to reach your goal by increasing the affordable housing to 25% and to include very low and low income units along with the median and moderate affordable units, which are in this present plan. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Ms. King.
Next speaker is Tom Mastay, followed by Doug Van over Zoom.
Good evening. I had a question for the developer, and I don't necessarily know that I don't have all the information for this, but I live in Copper Hill condominiums, which is right on the corner of North Canyons Parkway and Collier Canyon right there, right next to the development that's going in. We on the our HOA is part of a group that has to pay for the median strips that go down the middle of North Canyons Parkway. I don't remember the name of that association. I believe it's Golden Gate something association where our HOA pays in to the development that's the light industrial complex that's on the corner. They're part of that, and our association is part of that. And I believe we pay around $30,000 a month toward that maintenance goal. And I want to know if these developments are going to be forced to be part of that association in order to maintain those things, because realistically, you know, $30,000 a month is a lot of money for our little HOA to have to hoof. And we had no choice in the matter of whether or not to vote to be part of that. It was forced in upon us when our development was built by Ryland Corporation. So I just want to know if this if this development will have to be part of that association, because I do know that the median strips are starting to show some pretty serious wear and tear. The redwood trees that are planted down toward the Costco section of the medians right there are starting to die off. And I suspect it's due to the, you know, reclaimed water that we're using, too much salt in it for the redwood trees. So not sure if that's the reason they're dying off, but they're starting to look pretty rusty on there. And maybe the city could send out their arborist and take a look at this and give some guidance as to what we should do on there before we have to start chopping these trees down. So I just want to know if the city's going to make these guys, you know, pay into this association so that, you know, we can keep it looking nice over there.
Okay.
On there. Thank
Great.
you. That's all I
All
have.
right, Mr. Master, thank you. Quick question, is this like, Mr. Potter, is this similar to like an LMD that he's talking about that his HOA is paying into?
Yes.
Okay. And then, by the way, redwood trees are not doing well in Livermore anywhere because it's hot here and they don't like hot weather and they like fog. So perhaps we can take a look at those redwood trees as well. But this is like an LMD. Do you know if this development is going to be paying into a similar LMD? Landscape Maintenance District, sorry.
Yes, the project will be annexed into the Isabel Neighborhood Specific Plan Community Facilities District.
Okay, so they will be part of that Landscape Maintenance District. Okay, thank you. Got your answer. Next.
The next speaker is Doug Mann on Zoom. Doug Mann, please unmute yourself.
Good evening. I just want to set this up here. The Isabel Neighborhood Plan, as we know, started with a promise that it would not be built unless we got full BART. And everybody remembers that promise. I consider the fact that it was rezoned a couple of, a little over a year ago, as a real betrayal to the Livermore residents. Not just because BART is not coming, but Valley Link is not a replacement for BART. But I'll have to leave that alone because there's nothing I can do about it. The land has been rezoned and it will be built. But on the subject of Valley Link, I think it's very important that the developer make clear to everybody that they're selling the houses to that Valley Link may be built, but it is not guaranteed to be built, because I can just imagine in a few years, if Valley Link doesn't come, a lot of complaining buyers who said that they were promised that Valley Link would be there. And, that's what salespeople do. They say, yep, Valley Link's coming. And if it doesn't get built, there could be a legal problem for the city. And I don't want to see that happen. But beyond that, I had to read the staff report 2 or 3 times to believe that the developer didn't try and in lieu their way out of the affordable housing. That's encouraging. And it's, I'd hate to believe that my advocacy for refusing to accept in lieu fees has made a difference, but I suppose maybe that's been part of it. But I don't ever want to see you take an in lieu fee again. They need to build the units. Gene King has been trying to get the maximum number of affordable units built, whether it's downtown or this project. I think you should hold them to 25%. I don't see any reason why not to. And, I heard it in the staff report again today, the reading that the 25% is an aspirational goal. When I hear that, I'm just thinking to myself, aspirational? My aspiration is to build the units now. You should just have, and then the other thing in the report says, and he even mentioned it, that you'd be building 100% affordable projects. And I just think that diversifying and distributing affordable units amongst the rest of the people is a great idea, because I don't think people belong in one place or the other. Certain people belong here, and other people belong somewhere else. They should be kept all mixed and having fun. Thank you.
That concludes the speakers, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. I believe, Mr. Potter, you had indicated that while the goal was aspirational, that it required city assistance to reach the full 25% goal that the city had set for the Isabel neighborhood specific plan. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah. Okay. So it's going to require a city effort as well, and that's one of the reasons that we accept the in lieu fees, is because when we do that, we can actually build more affordable housing than would be receiving from a developer. Okay, thank you. Okay, in that case, I'm going to close the public hearing, bring it back to the council. Councilmember Carling.
Yeah, so I'd like to explore that a little bit more. I mean, they're not paying an in lieu fee anyway, right?
That's correct.
So we're not collecting an in lieu fee from
this
developer for this project. But I am concerned. I mean, I agree with Ms. King about the lack of low and very low. How was that determined? And is there any possibility of including some of these? I think there's 34 units of affordable housing, right?
Yeah, so the specific plan apportions kind of the low income side of the units on the rental projects within.
Oh, these are all for sale.
These are for sale units.
So there's no possibility of even selling to, I mean, we've helped people buy that are very low income people before, right?
So it's interesting question. The city council is kind of operating its quasi judicial role tonight to see if the project's in conformance with the plan. And it is, in fact, it meets the 20% requirements for medium and moderate.
Okay.
Councilmember Barrientos.
Well, the developer is here, right? Can he do 3 or 4 of those for very low? No? Okay.
I think one of the problems with that is when, for example, in some of the other projects that I've seen around Livermore, you've got one person that wins the lottery. They buy $1 million house for $250,000, and that helps one family. If you can leverage that and create affordable housing for a half dozen families, then there's a lot more benefit because then they can be here. But I think part of the problem is this balance of, is it better to have one person hit the lottery? Or is it better to be able to provide affordable housing for a larger number of people throughout the community? So I think that's the trade-off that we're wrestling with. So yeah, that's going to continue to be an issue, and it all comes down to resources.
So how are we gonna get very low? How are we gonna get those? So, if I was in the lottery and I won, I'd be happy.
Right. And you'd be one person.
I'll still be happy.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah.
better than zero.
Yeah. But it's also better to have
Yeah, but
10.
he's not paying an in lieu fee.
No,
So
he
he's
is not, but others are.
I know, but you can't use that argument for this development. That's my point.
These aren't rental properties. Most of our affordable housing is rental. Councilmember Branning.
Thank you. I think I want to clarify a couple of things to make sure that everyone understands. So first of all, does Livermore have an inclusionary ordinance that requires housing to be included? And we've more or less phased out in lieu fees other than in specific circumstances. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Yeah. And then the question of if we could add low income housing to this project or change from 20 to 25%, would I be correct in stating that it would be legally completely indefensible at this point in the process for us to change the requirement?
This is Paul Spencer, your Director of Community Development. You are correct. We have a requirement for the Isabel Neighborhood Specific Plan that is 15% and 5% median and moderate, and I should say moderate and median, get it in the right order. And in other areas of the city, we do have a requirement that includes low and very low income price ranges. But in the specific plan area here, in order to diversify and get a larger number of units, we have 20% at median and moderate. And the developer meets that requirement that's in the plan.
And so at this point, we couldn't change that because it meets the requirements. The applicant has gone through a very exhaustive process to get to this point. And if we change the rules on the developer at the last moment, I don't think we could defend that actually to begin with. And it would just open us up to spending citizens' money on a pointless lawsuit. So with all that said, also RENA came up. And if I'm not mistaken, in our housing element, this is actually what we anticipated in our RENA numbers for this development. Is that correct?
That's correct.
Cool. So that's kind of all my questions for this. I just really want to say briefly, first of all, I want to thank the Planning Commission. They did a very exhaustive job with this with this project. They did a really good job of giving us a lot of comments that I think helped make sure that it's going to be a really nice project. And then more broadly, to this developer and the others that are working on the Isabel neighborhood plan, this is going to be a really cool neighborhood. Like, I'm very excited for this. It is, in my district, it's practically in my backyard. It's a short bike ride for me to get there. And what we're looking at when this is all built out is going to be the affordable housing that we're looking for is going to be going in a mixture of rental and for sale units. There's going to be a really cool main street going in. There's going to be parks, community spaces. It's really going to give a vibrant neighborhood for the people who are living north of the freeway. And so this is a small part of it, but seeing finally this plan start to come together, I think is something we should all be really excited about. And Livermore is going to continue to build affordable housing. We're going to continue to work to meet not just our RENA numbers, but actually to be one of the cities that is in the forefront of building affordable housing that is high quality, great to live in, and integrates with our communities. And that's going to include projects like Eden downtown. It's going to improve projects throughout the Isabel neighborhood plan. And we're going to end up with a really, really cool city, continues to grow and welcomes people who work at our restaurants, who work at our schools, our police, and our fire, and finding them all a nice place to live. So I'm excited for this project personally. And I think this is a small part of the city's direction that's really, really cool. Thank you.
Vice Mayor Kick.
So I've been on council for a couple of years now, and anybody who had not so nice things to say to me during the election was that I was too progressive. But after being on council for a while, I think I have become a part of the party of practicality. And the reality is that when you are selling units, you are probably going to get to sell those units to moderate and higher income families. The amount of money we'd have to subsidize to pay just for the cost of living for low and extremely low families doesn't make sense. Do I agree that everyone should be able to buy a home? Absolutely. Is that the reality of the market? No. I am a millennial, and millennials and Gen Z are not buying houses. We will probably be renting till my children are out of college. And I've been on the affordable housing wait list for 7.5 years. I was called one time and I was number 3 in line, number 1 qualified, still on the wait list. Now I'll probably never get called again. And if I do, I'll probably have to have another kid to afford to live there. And that's not happening. No, thank you. So I think the important thing to remember is that we're building communities for 2023. The reality of 2023 is that we have more renters that qualify in those low and low income. So it makes sense in our plan. Our staff has done a great job doing that. I appreciate how well planned this neighborhood is. Thank you for building in Livermore. I hope you continue to build in Livermore. And I look forward to walking around these beautiful developments after we cut that ribbon. So that's all I have to say. Thank you very much.
Councilmember Barrientos.
Okay, I appreciate what you've done. Okay, I like it. But the thing is, it's still, the issue is very, very low housing. So how does the city planning commission understand that, or they know that, right?
Sure, absolutely.
Okay,
But it
so,
comes down to the marketplace.
you know, you can criticize me as long as you want. I don't care. So anyway, I'm still looking for, a way to get some of those houses built. I'm not sure, maybe some billionaires gonna come in and build a few of them, but do still have the issue whether you like it or not,
Well, and the problem is, so the city does not build housing. The market builds housing, and we've got to work with them to create product. Now, these are for sale units, and we have affordable for sale units. Where the way we get the low and very low, that's a rental product. And we've been trying to bring in rental product for a while, and we're still fighting on that in the downtown. But that's where we're going to be achieving the low and the very low is rental. And these are for sale. So we're not really going to achieve it there. But as Mr. Potter pointed out, the city is going to have to be a partner as we build those. And that's what we're going to be using some of those in the affordable housing fees, not from this project, because they're building the affordable, but from other ones that do fee out. So we're committed to do that. And we've committed, I've many times talked about how this is going to be ultimately 25% affordable, and we're going to continue to work toward that goal. I see head nods over there. Okay, good. Got it. Okay, any other comments? Vice Mayor.
I'll move approval of staff recommendation.
Okay, Vice Mayor Kick moves approval. Do I have a second?
Second.
Seconded by Councilmember Branning. Any discussion on the motion? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Barrientos,
aye.
Councilmember Branning,
Aye.
Councilmember Carling,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Kick,
Yes.
Mayor Marchand.
Aye. Okay, the main event. 6.2, hearing to consider rescission of site plan design review 19004 and the conditional use permit CUP 19006. And this is for the Wine Country Inn.
Honorable Mayor Marchand and members of the City Council, this is once again your City Manager Mariana Marasheva. Item 6.2 is going to be presented by another Associate Planner, Cam Purewell, with the assistance from Steve Stewart as needed. And we have a number of other staff members standing by to assist.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor and City Council members. The item for your review tonight is the Livermore Wine Country and project involves 3 entitlements, civic plan amendment, site plan design review, and a conditional use permit. The South Livermore Valley has been an active and grape growing and wine producing area since the 1880s. Development of commercial uses is critical to the long-term viability of Livermore's Valley's wine country. While residential development is nearly complete, build out of the 16 wine country commercial sites has lagged behind due to land cost and financial and legal risks of building a small scale wine country supporting business. On March 8th, the General Plan Advisory Committee discussed a 2022 study from UC Davis. The study concluded that the harsh economics of winemaking may soon put many of Livermore's small vineyards out of business, and Livermore needs infrastructure changes to attract tourism and larger wineries to the region. The proposed project is located at the southwest corner of Arroyo Road and Hanson Road. The site has a general plan designation of Livermore Valley Civic Plan Wine Country Commercial. The zoning designation is under a plan unit development. The surrounding uses include to the north, the vacant site, commercial site 5D1, which is designated for a commercial center. To the south, we have Las Positas Winery. And to the east and west, the south site is surrounded by agricultural uses. And to the west, approximately 230 feet away, are single family homes. The Planning Commission approved the project in 2019. Decision was appealed to the City Council in January of 2020, and the City Council denied that appeal. I'm going to ask City Attorney Jason Acala to provide additional information regarding the lawsuit.
Cam, thank you very much. This is Jason Collier, City Attorney. The balance of the slide will be a part of my report. To give a brief summary of the litigation following the City Council's approval of the project. In February of 2020, the Friends of South Livermore filed a lawsuit alleging that the project itself violated CEQA as well as planning and land use law. In January of 2021, the Alameda County Superior Court denied the petition and ruled in favor of the City of Livermore. Friends of South Livermore then appealed. In December of 2022, the Court of Appeal reversed the lower court's decision. The Court of Appeal acknowledged that the PUD required a 50-foot setback from Hanson Road. But the court also held that the 50-foot setback in the PUD conflicted with other language in the specific plan regarding a 100-foot setback in policy 4.7. The court then found that the 100-foot setback was fundamental and mandatory, and that since the PUD was subordinate to the specific plan, it could not amend it. Now, Cam will explain the conflict a little later on as part of his report, but in a nutshell, in 1997, the City Council adopted the specific plan, but Hanson Road did not exist at that time. It was simply a private road. That said, the specific plan did state that the access to the future commercial sites, 5D1 and 5D2, would be from a future road in that area. Specific plan also contained a diagram depicting a shorter setback than 100 feet for that particular location. That was in 97. In 2001, the City Council adopted a PUD for the area that includes both the neighborhood and the commercial sites for 5D1 and 5D2. The PUD provided greater detail to implement the specific plan. When the PUD was adopted, it clearly established a 50-foot setback that applied to those two commercial sites. Since that time, the city has interpreted the specific plan, the PUD, when read together, to require a 50-foot setback from Hanson Road for commercial sites 5D1 and 5D2, and a 100-foot setback from the Royal Road in that area. The Court of Appeals decision determined that this inconsistency cannot be reconciled by the PUD or through interpretation. Therefore, despite the consistent application of the 50-foot setback and the clarity in the PUD, an amendment to the South Livermore Valley specific plan is required to implement that portion of the council's decision when it approved the PUD in 2001. And that's what you have before you this evening as part of your recommended actions. With that, I'll turn it back over to Cam.
Thank you, City Attorney Acala. So the existing language for policy 4-7 conflicts with the zoning standards, as the City Attorney just mentioned, for commercial sites 5D1 and 5D2. The proposed language for policy 4-7 is consistent with the commercial zoning standards that require a 50-foot setback from Hanson Road. A 100-foot setback from Hanson Road does not make developmental sense and would significantly restrict the development of sites 5D1 and 5D2. The in-building is located 80 feet away from Hanson Road. Both sites 5D1 and 5D2 will continue to provide a 100-foot planted setback from Arroyo Road. Here is some general information to clear up any confusion and misinformation about the project. The civic plan was adopted in 1997. At that time, Hanson Road was a private dirt road that ended at Arroyo Road and did not proceed west across Arroyo Road. Hanson Road west of Arroyo Road is depicted as a future entry road, which I'll show in the next slide, and did not exist when the civic plan was adopted. The City Council approved the PUD zoning standards in 2001 with a 50-foot setback. The city has always interpreted a 50-foot setback from Hanson Road and a 100-foot setback from Arroyo Road. Vineyards on Arroyo Road are required to remain within the 100-foot agricultural setback. Civic plan amendment is required to clarify that a 50-foot setback applies to Hanson Road. As shown in the images above, let me just pull up the laser pointer here. Sorry, as shown in the images above, Hanson Road existed to the east of Arroyo Road and is shown as a future entry road to the west. The image to the right shows a prototypical site plan, and as you can see, the 100-foot agricultural buffer is along Arroyo Road. The cottages that are shown with a reduced setback, there's no reference to a 100-foot setback for any future entry roads here. And the cottages are shown with a reduced setback compared to the 100-foot setback for the agricultural buffer. Furthermore, the PUD zoning permit was approved in 2001 and sets out the commercial development standards for site 5D1 and 5D2, which requires a 50-foot setback from Hanson Road. The PUD standards have stood for 20 years without challenge. The civic plan amendment is proposed to remove any confusion and clarify the setback issue from Hanson Road. The project involves the physical development of commercial site 5D2. The proposal is to develop the vacant, approximately 3-acre site with a 29,345 square foot, 2-story building for a 30-room wine country inn. The proposed site plan shows a 100-foot agricultural setback from Arroyo Road and a 50-foot setback from Hanson Road. And the building, the inn building, is actually located approximately 80 feet away from Hanson Road. The in-building, the project includes a 77-seat restaurant and a caretaker's unit. The restaurant is located in this vicinity, and the caretaker's unit is located to the south. In 2019, the Planning Commission added conditions of approval requiring the project to provide a right turn only out of the site. And here you see a median in the middle, forcing a right turn only for vehicles. To also address the site off of Arroyo Road for GPS routing, which this site does have a Arroyo Road address. Remove the sidewalk along the north side of the site. And provide an on-site path to the trail on Arroyo Road. And the path is right here. And there's the existing trail. The inn is required to provide 61 parking spaces. 65 parking spaces are provided. A total of 7 EV-capable spaces, 15 EV-ready spaces, and 2 EV chargers would be provided on site. 12 bicycle spaces are provided. That include 4 bike lockers and 8 bike racks. And those are proposed along the north end of the building here. The project architecture is consistent with the civic plan architectural standards and guidelines for commercial buildings. The project provides a Spanish Mediterranean architectural style. The scale of the 2-story building is appropriate for the site and conforms to the 35 feet maximum height limit. The landscaping plan shows the planting of 109 new trees on site. The trees and shrub species on the landscape plan are consistent with the plant palette encouraged in the civic plan. Landscape features are used for the project to establish an appealing entry sequence for visitors. The intent of the civic plan is to protect the scenic character of Arroyo Road. The project includes planted vines within the 100-foot setback buffer. The intent of the civic plan is not to completely cover the 100-foot setback buffer with vineyards, but rather to display the in-building as being a dominant feature from Arroyo Road that would contrast with the surrounding landscape as stated in the environmental impact report. The 100-foot buffer is intended to provide some rows of vines, but the primary focus is the visual dominance of the in-building. A condition of approval has been added to replant any vines that are removed during construction prior to occupancy. An entrance to the wine country and from Arroyo Road was requested by some of the project opponents during the previous administrative process. An Arroyo Road entrance is not recommended by staff for several reasons. An entrance from Arroyo Road would create pedestrian and traffic safety concerns due to the higher speed limits on Arroyo Road as compared to Hanson Road. Second, a new left turn lane would have to be created on Arroyo Road, which would be near the existing left turn lane from Arroyo onto Hanson Road, likely causing additional traffic concerns and an increase in rear end collisions. Third, there is a slope easement along Arroyo Road with a substantial difference in grade between Arroyo Road and the project. Site distance would be a concern for vehicles entering and leaving the site, and there would be limited visibility for pedestrians using the existing trail. LARPD concluded that entrance to the property should remain on Hanson to avoid impacting the regional trail. Last, and most importantly, an Arroyo Road entrance would be in conflict with policy 5-10 of the civic plan, requiring another civic plan amendment and a new environmental analysis. Policy 5-10 states, access to commercial areas generally shall be kept separate from access roads to residential areas. However, access to commercial sites shall take access directly from roadways external to the subareas, except in subareas 5, where sites 5D1 and 5D2, the project site, still take access from the main east-west spine road, which is Hanson Road. For these reasons, the Hanson Road entrance, as required by the civic plan and the zoning, is not only the safest point of access for the inn, but also makes logical sense. In conclusion, the project provides critical infrastructure for Livermore's wine country, but most importantly, the project preserves Livermore's heritage as an active wine-growing region. Therefore, Planning Commission and staff recommend the council take 2 actions. Action 1, adopt the attached resolution and rescind site plan design review and conditional use permit that was approved in 2019, and adopt the attached resolution, adopting an addendum to the 1997 EIR and approved civic plan amendment, site plan design review, and conditional use permit for the Livermore Wine Country Inn. That concludes staff's presentation. The applicant, Michelle Boss, would like to make a brief statement, and staff will be available for any questions. Thank you.
Good evening, esteemed city council members and Mr. Mayor Marchand. For those of you who do not know me yet, I'm the project applicant. I'm a Livermore resident and neighbor of the project. My 2 children go to Livermore schools. I'm a mindful and responsible citizen, community member, and business owner. I have lived in and loved Livermore since 2016. My husband has lived here since 2005. One of the things we enjoy most about Livermore is its unique wine country. As the progenitor of the California wine industry, historic Livermore is special and worth fighting for. This is why I pursued this wine country inn project in 2018. When I first saw the wine country inn signage on this parcel and then started speaking to community stakeholders, one thing was abundantly clear. The viability of our Livermore wine country is at a critical tipping point. More upscale lodging for visitors and agri-tourists is what is needed to keep this beautiful wine country alive and thriving. This was in 2018, a few years ahead of the recent UC Davis study, and arguably concluding that our region has failed to create the demand necessary for profitable viticulture. Without infrastructure, such as the city sewer line extension and additional wine country lodging to support our wine growers, they will dwindle rather than grow. The project in front of you for reapproval is long overdue and very needed right now for our community. The design in front of you checks off the development standards to a T and couldn't be any closer to the intended vision for this site that was defined and adopted in 2001, long before I came along. The design is a direct result of the South Livermore Valley specific plan guidelines provided to my architect by the city. As has already been pointed out by Mr. Purewald, the city's own plan development standards for this parcel states, quote, setbacks from Hanson Road, 50 feet, and quote, access to commercial sites 5D1 and 5D2 shall be limited to one access point on Hanson Road. Again, the project before you was designed in the spirit of exactly what was always planned to be here. It was responsibly and mindfully designed and is also in alignment with many of the city's new strategic plan pillars. It's an asset to the community in so many ways. With your approval this evening, this project will get built without any further delay, and it will flourish. I will continue to invest my time and resources, be a steward of the land to ensure environmental sustainability, and live on site as the community envisioned. I'm hoping it's just the beginning of the long-awaited commercial development of the South Livermore commercial parcels. Thank you.
Thank you.
I'm available for questions. I also have my civil engineer, Mr. Kevin Lapp here for questions as well.
Any questions from the council at this point? Okay, thank you very much. That concludes the staff presentation. Okay, very good. Thank you. How many speakers do we have?
Currently, right around 25.
Okay. Just to make sure that everybody gets an opportunity to speak tonight, that we hear from everybody, I'm going to limit the comments to 2 minutes. I still think there'll be plenty of time to make your comments. I assure you, I have read all of the emails, all of your letters, all your comments, and I'm quite sure most of the other council members have. So if you have something new to present tonight, great. If someone else has already said what you're going to say, just say, hey, I agree with that person. And pardon me? Yeah, well, but I mean, when you follow them to the podium. With that, I'm going to open the public hearing, and if you'll please call the names.
Our first speaker is Kendall Smith, followed by Ann Young, followed by Peter Young. Please be sure to speak directly into the microphone.
My name's Kendall Smith. It's been nearly 3.5 years since I spoke here about the proposed hotel. I found that when two parties disagree on something, the best outcome is one that where both parties can give and take a little and come to a compromise so that it's a win-win for everyone. I think most of the people here speaking against the hotel will probably are definitely residents of City of Livermore and most closer to the neighborhood. I'm not sure if everybody who's going to speak for the hotel is actually a resident of Livermore or a constituent. I don't think anybody here is really against the hotel, but it's really against the current location, especially the entrance. And so if you take a look at the setback issue that's been discussed tonight from 100 feet to 50 feet, just to give you an idea of what 50 feet are, I actually measured this room here. And if you look at the red alarm on the wall there and the red alarm on the wall here, that's 45 feet from wall to wall. So if you encroach in that 50 feet here, it's going to be substantial, the amount of room that you're taking away from the neighborhood. So really, once something's built in the setback here, it's pretty much forever. It's not going to change here. You can't undo it here. So it's a permanent change here. So I'm going to urge the council to not approve the modification to the South Livermore plan tonight and to ask the developer and planning commission to go back and seriously reconsider moving the entrance to the property from Hanson to Arroyo. Now, I've seen the recent memorandum sent to the city from the outside engineers, and I think there's some flaws in that here, and you can look at the grade elevation. And I believe that there could be an acceptable solution come up to move the entrance to Arroyo here. So I'd like you to urge to send this back to the planning commission, come back with a serious alternative proposal and really study the numbers so that it can be a win-win for everyone. Thank you.
Next speaker is Ann Young, followed by Peter Young, followed by Jean King.
last time I was out of order, so thank you. I am Ann Young, and I'm a friend of South Livermore. And I'm here to say I'm against the building of the hotel as it is, without modifications. Everybody wants the hotel. We do. Everybody wants it. But the things that really need to be changed, I think the editorial in the Independent summed it up. When you could go back to the drawing board and make a few changes and everybody would be happy. The people who disagree, the people who are building, it would be a nice combination of ideas. The Planning Commission did check all the boxes, but they were in a hurry to press it forward, which no one can blame them. Changing the South Livermore plan to accommodate a builder, I think is a bad idea. Changing the 100-foot setback to 50-foot back to accommodate a builder is another bad idea. Actually, it's a real disaster. It affects the open space and the beautiful feel of atmosphere of the hills in Livermore. Refusing to move the entrance to Arroyo is not consistent with what other cities have done. San Ramon, Dublin, Pleasanton, they all have reconfigured their driving lanes very nicely. I was just over there at a track meet and I hit a four-way intersection and I could turn, drop down and hit the other boulevard. So there really is no problem. Right now, as citizens, we cross that road without any crosswalks daily to go up in the hills beyond. So it's not like people are going to be smashed right, left, and center. So anyway, okay. We brought these things before, and we've always been given the answer that the wine industry here will not survive without the hotel, but it should be changed. Thank you.
Next speaker is Peter Young, followed by Jean King, followed by Donna Cabane.
Hi, good evening. My name is Peter Young and I'm a friend of South Livermore. Regardless of what you decide tonight, the proposed hotel will conflict with the South Livermore plan. I want to draw your attention to the 100-foot setback from Arroyo Road. Remember that policy 4-7 of the South Livermore Valley specific plan states that, quote, building setbacks for commercial uses shall be 100 feet from road frontages. All setback areas shall be planted with vineyards or orchards, end quote. Item number 6 in the conditions for approval in the staff report states, quote, any vines in the 100-foot agricultural buffer along Arroyo Road that are removed during construction must be replaced prior to an issuance of a certificate of occupancy, end quote. The first problem is the location of the vines is not specified. The landscaping plan shown on page 842 of the packet shows only 4 rows of vines with open space where the remaining vines should be. The vines currently in place begin 30 feet from the trail and extend to 100 feet from the edge of Arroyo Road, whereas the vines in the drawing begin less than 5 feet from the trail and stop 35 feet short of the western boundary of the agricultural buffer. The second problem is that, in fact, grapevines cannot be replanted in their original position because of the large 33 feet long by 29 feet wide EVA turnout with a water fountain, fences, and benches that extends into the agricultural buffer in violation of the South Livermore plan. This is yet another example where this project has been allowed to expand beyond the constraints imposed by the plan. Please do not approve the project. I'll leave you with this word. You must not permit a hotel that doesn't fit. Thank you.
Next speaker is Jean King, followed by Donna Capan, followed by Mary Sweeney.
Good evening. I urge the City Council not to support the proposed changes to the plan. Do not approve the Wine Country Inn as it is presented tonight. Do not approve the requested electric kitchen equipment exemption. Before there can be a joint effort for fairness, both players must know the rules they are playing by. Both the residents and the developer knew the rules, the specific plan. The design proposed now does not follow the rules in the plan. Changing the rules in the middle of the process is like changing the rules of a ball game in the middle of play. Suppose in a game at halftime, one team is trailing in the scoring and wants to change the rules so they can have 50% more players in the second half. Should the rules be changed for them? Of course not. Should the rules of the specific plan be changed to allow this particular design, which is too large for the site? Of course not. When another project is proposed in the specific plan, can the developer assume that the plan can be changed anytime to fit their design? Turn the page. The fact that Hanson Road was not there when the plan was designed does not affect the need to protect the ambiance of Hanson Road and the neighborhood. Not only should the project be attractive to visitors to the wine country, but also equally attractive to the residents who use Hanson Road every day of the week. Hanson Road should not be treated as a back alley. We can help the wine country and not harm the residential neighborhood, but not with the present design. Now, concerning the exemption for electricity from gas to electric, there are many efforts needed in the climate crisis. Changing from gas to electric appliances is certainly one way. The applicant's reasons for an exemption are not factual. The Independent Consumers Union highly recommends induction for energy efficiency, speed and precision cooking, safety, absence of toxic fumes. And I encourage you not to do the exemption for the electricity. Thank you very much.
Next speaker is Donna Cobain, followed by Mary Sweeney, followed by Trish Monroe.
Good evening. We urge you to deny the amendment. The plan exists so there is consistency and uniformity in decision-making. In contrast, this amendment is contrary to the letter, spirit, and intent of the plan. The amendment is completely at odds with the aesthetic goals meant to preserve and enhance the area's rural and scenic qualities. Visual and scenic resources are critical to promoting South Livermore as a wine-growing region. When driving through South Livermore, people expect to see vineyards and orchards. With this amendment, people will see a parking lot and a commercial-sized dumpster. In addition, the new application removes 17 mature street trees at the entrance. Is this the desired image needed to promote South Livermore? This is not a commercial area. It is a specific buffer zone between urban and open space in the South Livermore plan. The proposed entrance for the hotel is located at a very narrow portion of Hanson Road. The safety of the neighborhood is our #1 priority. The safer solution would be to move the entrance to Arroyo Road. The project is inconsistent with the city climate action goals, Livermore 2022 CAP and Livermore Green Building Codes 2022. Why should the applicant get a waiver to the electric appliance requirement? Why change an entire plan to appease one developer? Why make arbitrary exceptions for one applicant? There are many ways the applicant can modify her design, including removing her private pool, family resident, and the large courtyard. Don't change the plan. Ask the applicant to change the configuration of the hotel. Thank you.
Next speaker is Mary Sweeney, followed by Trish Monroe, followed by Pat McMenamin.
Hello. I can't speak to this specific elements of the building, but this morning, my husband and I, because we knew that this was coming up and we knew that there were going to be objections, we drove over to the parking lot that's by the sports park there off of Holmes and walked on Hanson Road through the neighborhood, beautiful neighborhood, and then came out and walked up along Arroyo to the corner where the hotel's proposed. Big open space, not near the homes at all. And there's commercial space projected for across the street from there. So that doesn't seem like they're in anybody's backyard. Seemed like a perfect location. And I support the wineries. I support Livermore Shakes. We would love to have a hotel that people can come and stay in that's consistent with the beauty of Livermore. I'm very much in favor of the planning of the hotel to be built. Thank you.
Next speaker is Trish Monroe, followed by Pat McMenamin, followed by Kat Weiss.
Good evening, Mayor and City Council members. I'm Trish Monroe. And one of the first things that I got to do when I was on City Council was to approve going forward with this project. I'm really sad to see that here I am on this side of the dais, still advocating for it. I appreciate what the developer said. I think that she pretty much said it all. I really urge you to finally approve the changes to move forward with this. I also wanted to say something regarding those people who, I'm just getting really tired, and I think I've said that from that side of the dais, but I'll say it from this side as well. I'm just tired of people who say, I support but. Anytime I hear I support but, and then a reason why I support but means that something is going to be impossible, I know that what I shouldn't be listening to is the I support, but the but. And there's a whole lot of those that I've heard tonight in various forms. I appreciate the work you're doing. Please continue to do it. Please get this approved. Thank you.
Next speaker is Pat McMenamin, followed by Kat Weiss, followed by Dennis Eschelinson.
Good evening, Mayor Marchand and fellow council members. Thank you for granting me this time to speak. I do not oppose the wine country concept of having cottages at site 5D3, site 5D2. I oppose the approval of the current design of the hotel on site 5D2. The South Livermore Valley specific plan provides sound and legitimate support for denial of the current design of the hotel. I believe any prospective developer should prepare in advance and submit design plans that meet the requirements of the South Livermore Valley specific plan. Thanks for this opportunity.
Next speaker is Kat Weiss, followed by Dennis Elshison, followed by Matt Sousa.
Good evening. I just wanted to speak in favor of the project. I live in the neighborhood. I'm 2 houses off of Hanson Road. We also walk the site every day, and I think it's a perfect location. I'm also a registered landscape architect in the state. I think that the design is wonderful. I have every faith that the developer will put all the landscape in and that it will be lovely. I also speak on behalf of several of our neighbors and my friends who can't be here tonight because they have small children. But we're all excited to go visit the restaurant and walk to it and bring our friends to town. I think it's well needed. Being from the neighborhood, I think it's wonderfully sited. It's not, like people have mentioned, it's not in the envelope of all the houses. If you see those houses, they're not exactly rural in decoration. So I think it's great. So I think we're just dotting the i's tonight. Thank you.
Next speaker is Dennis Elshison, followed by Matt Sousa, followed by John Nunes.
Good evening, Mr. Mayor and honorable council members. I'm going to bring up something that has been brought before, and that's parking. I'm a little bit concerned about overflow parking or the potential for it onto Hanson Road and the surrounding neighborhoods. On Hanson Road, there are 3 signs that say parking limited to designated turnouts. I take that to mean that you can only park in the designated turnouts and not other parts of the road or on the shoulders. So can you please clarify that's what it means? And those signs also apply to the residential neighborhood. So in the attachment 23 in the agenda packet, conditions of approval, there's project specific conditions. And the 3rd one says parking shall be contained on site. I mean, I think that on site on the 5D2. It also goes on to say no use related parking shall occur within the surrounding residential neighborhoods. So does that condition include parking for all activities of the inn, the restaurant, the conference room, everything? It all has to be contained on site. I just want some clarification on that. Another question I have is, may the owner of the inn direct her employees to park off-site? In other words, he might say, well, we're having a conference, so employees must park somewhere else. May she do that? Or does all parking have to be contained on site as it says? May the inn's customers or employees park on site 5D1 across the street? That's private property. What if they worked on an agreement? Well, no, let's have overflow parking over there. Is that permitted? That wouldn't be parking on contained on site. And if the owner of the inn violates any of these conditions, what are the consequences, if any? Thank you.
Next speaker is Matt Souza, followed by John Nunes, followed by Carol Silva.
Good evening, Council, Mr. Mayor. I want to just quote my mom real quick to just say, life's not fair. And I think that what this proposal offers here is a chance for us to really invest in the future of the winemakers in Livermore, as well as the community in general, to give them a landing point when they talk about Livermore wine region. I also think that the proposal that was shown here tonight shows that it perfectly fits what it was designed for. And as well, there's no compromise on safety in terms of switching it over to Royal Road. I support the project and I want the project development to move on ASAP. Thank you.
Next speaker is John Nunes, followed by Carol Silva, followed by Alan Burnham.
Good evening, Mayor and council members. My name is John Nunes. I've been a resident of Livermore for 22 years. I respectfully request that you deny the general plan amendment related to South Livermore Valley specific plan and deny the developer application until such time the project is designed to comply with the vision and intent of the South Livermore Valley specific plan. The specific plan was the product of several years of thoughtful imagination and hard work from many stakeholders, including residents, city officials, wine growers, winemakers, the business community, and many others. It was to preserve the area as an historic wine growing region and to promote South Livermore Valley as a premier destination. Accordingly, any general plan amendment to alter the vision of the original architects of the South Livermore Valley specific plan needs to be carefully scrutinized and not tinkered with lightly to appease one developer. The planning staff knew or should have known that a zoning change or a PUD does not override a specific plan. So this should come as no surprise to the planning staff. That should have been done appropriately when it was first introduced back in 2001, 4 years after this South Livermore specific plan was adopted. Hanson Road was designed to be a narrow neighborhood collector street. It is particularly narrow, and proposed entry and exit wine country end is designated because it is split with a planted medium divide with no back lanes and pedestrian walkways, creating a dangerous safety concern. Please consider as a condition of approval to relocate the Hanson Road entry exit to a more appropriate and safer Arroyo Road. I can't really buy what the planning staff's saying about Arroyo Road being less safe. My understanding, and the planning staff can correct me on this, but the address is going to be on Arroyo Road. So what's going to end up happening is anybody coming from the south is going to come up Wetmore Road, and the speed limit on Wetmore Road is 45 miles an hour with many entrances and exit along there. And Arroyo Road's a 40-mile-an-hour speed limit. So the most appropriate place to put this is Arroyo Road, not Hanson Road, a very narrow.
If you please
neighborhood
conclude your
collector street.
comments.
Thank you.
Thank you.
The next speaker is Carol Silva, followed by Alan Burnham, followed by John Stein.
Good evening. I'll shorten what I was going to say since I agree with the first 5 speakers. I have many of the concerns in regards to parking, but I also have a concern in regards to the size of the Country Inn, which I feel would be considered more of a hotel with 30 units and 29,000 plus square feet. when you include the decks of the rooms, et cetera. I want to know if you've driven Concannon Boulevard between Arroyo Road and South Livermore Avenue, you cannot help but notice a home there that just dominates the area. It's like a huge castle home. And the country hotel would be approximately twice the size of this huge and domineering castle home. I think a more appropriate country inn at Hanson and Arroyo would look more like the Purple Orchid Spa, which is surrounded by lovely vineyards and graceful olive trees. I would like each city council member to think how they would feel if they had a 2-story huge hotel overlooking their homes and thereby preventing them from having much privacy. I ask the city council to not approve this proposal as currently submitted because having an addendum to change the South Livermore Valley specific plan for one project will open up the gates for future non-consistent, undesirable development. Thank you.
Next speaker is Ellen Burnham, followed by John Stein, followed by Lisa Tromovich.
Good evening. I will also abridge my comments. One of the things I read the court ruling and one of the things that became clear is that the only point of issue is the 100-foot versus the 50-foot, and there was not unanimous. The appellate court was 2-1, but if you take the original court, it was actually 2-2. So the judges who weighed in on this were 50-50 as to whether or not it was 50 or 100 feet. This is not a matter of clarity like some people are trying to claim. This is completely complete ambiguity, and that's what this proposal is trying to solve. I also find it very ironic, kindly, that some people are saying, "Oh, well, you can't possibly change the South Livermore plan," and now they want to change the entrance of the hotel from the place that it's in the plan to another place. This is absolute nonsense. You cannot yield to such self-contradictory statements. If you really, if you look at the judge's ruling, it talks about 100 feet from a public roadway. One simple way of changing that from no longer a public roadway is to take out the segment of Hanson Road between the inn and Verdala Road. There's already 3 other access routes to that. There's around 150 houses. That's more access routes than my neighborhood off East Avenue. And there's an emergency access in addition. So you can essentially take out that segment of road with no appreciable reduction in safety for emergency vehicles to that neighborhood. And it would also reduce the traffic of people going from Hanson Road onto Arroyo Road, which some people are concerned about. So I think that you should seriously consider adding a comment of removing that section of Hanson Road to the potential amendment you're talking about. Thank you. Bye.
Next speaker is John Stein, followed by Lisa Tromovich, followed by Lori Souza.
John Stein, 1334 Cathy Court. I would like to provide some background on the setback requirements. I was directly involved in the formation of the South Livermore specific plan. It actually started in 1992 when Signature Homes wanted to expand Ruby Hill to the east. The city first adopted the South Livermore area plan, and after 4 years of work involving all of the stakeholders, I was one of the 5 council members who signed the South Livermore Valley specific plan. The clear intent of that plan was a 100-foot setback along the major streets connecting the wineries, the so-called wine trail, together with the planted vineyards. The secondary streets, the spine streets and the entryways did not have that requirement. There were a lot of requirements in terms of swales and narrowness and off-street parking and signage and lights, but nothing about a 100-foot setback or planted vines. So that was an interpretation by the court that was in error. The Planning Commission unanimous recommendation to clarify and uphold the original intent of the South Livermore Plan was the correct one. The City Council should now adopt the Planning Commission recommendation as far as setbacks to meet the original goals of the general plan. Visitors are essential to the continued economic viability of South Livermore, and adopting this particular commercial development will ensure the continuation of successful vineyards and wineries in South Livermore. If you have any questions about the specifics of the South Livermore Valley Plan, I'd be happy to try and answer them. Thank you.
Next speaker is Lisa Tromovich, followed by Lori Souza, followed by Gina Bonanno.
Hi, thank you all for having us tonight. I'm Lisa Tromovich, Livermore resident, and I encourage the council to adopt the resolutions recommended by the Planning Commission and staff. It has obviously been several decades that the city and its citizens have been studying the needs of the community to contribute to an overall vision for the socially and financially and culturally healthy city that we strive for. The vision recognized the need for the city to take the leadership in zoning and creating site-specific plans so that a balance could be struck among housing, business, open space, culture, education, and tourism. The area of land designated for the Wine Country Inn is one of the areas designated for years. It's been designated to host this exact type of business, being as it is integral to other businesses and activities in the area, including but not limited to tourism, the wine country, and the cultural events hosted by the wineries, including the Outdoor Summer Shakespeare Festival. As presented, the design does follow all of the rules, and only a clarification is required to follow the logic of the original planning documents. I look forward to working closely with Michelle Boss and the Wine Country Inn staff to create packages that welcome tourists to our area, to stay at the inn, attend the theater festival and other events in the vineyards. And our business plans have always depended on this type of business being welcomed into our community. I hope the city will continue to lead and to create better balance to support the struggling cultural businesses and the cultural tourism businesses that provide jobs and create a culturally enriched life for all of the members of the community. Thank you.
Next speaker is Lori Souza, followed by Gina Bonanno, followed by Pete Sandu.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor Marchand, City Council and staff. My name is Lori Souza. I've been a resident of Livermore for 44 years, and I'm the chair of the board of the Tri-Valley Conservancy. And I'm really pleased to see the Planning Commission is making a recommendation that allows the Wine Country Inn project to move forward as it conforms to the intent of the South Livermore Valley specific plan. Our beloved wine region is in a fragile economic state, with many of our grape growers needing to decide whether to replant their vines over the next few years. A vibrant wine tourism economy supported by the Wine Country Inn and other amenities is essential to this wine region's long-term success. All good planning requires a regular review to ensure that objectives are being met. In the case of the South Livermore Valley specific plan, it is clear that the build out of the 16 wine country commercial sites has been stymied. It's important to seek this clarification to ensure that these site plans are built as they each contribute to the overall vision of our South Livermore Valley area. I think the staff has done an excellent job laying out a rational and practical path forward for this project and others to proceed in the near term. This is critically important to help maintain our viticulture and agricultural preserve. Please approve the resolution. Thank you.
Next speaker is Gina Bonanno, followed by Pete Sandu, followed by Paul Mansfield.
Good evening, Mayor Marchand, council members and staff. I'm here to support and encourage you to approve this item that will allow the Wine Country Inn to move forward. I was a member of the Planning Commission that in 2019 first recommended approving this project. It was clear then, as it's clear now, that the vision and intent of the 1997 South Livermore Valley specific plan and codified in the 2001 zoning standards are being met by this project. More than ever, This type of commercial use is critically important to our wine country and if our wine country is to remain viable. Since the plan was adopted, we have seen some elements come to fruition, but others essential to its long-term success have not. We have seen very few projects of this quality come forward, and we're fortunate that the applicant has stuck with us. Remarks made at the May 2nd Planning Commission by Mr. Stein, I'm not going to repeat what he just said for himself, but he was a member of the council when this plan was adopted. He was part of the process that contributed to developing the plan. And in his May 2nd Planning Commission remarks, he said there was no intent that side streets should have a 100-foot setback, whether for residential or commercial use. Essentially what he just said tonight. More importantly, I've heard no one who was actually involved at that time dispute this. There's also ample evidence in the specific plan itself, and I would refer you to the site plan figures that Mr. Purewell just showed you on in chapter 12 of the plan, and this clearly shows a setback significantly less than 100 feet on the side streets and on the streets that were called at that time the future entry road, which are now Hanson Road. Finally, having some experience as both a council member and a planning commissioner, the zoning process, the 2001 zoning process would not have been established and approved without an understanding of and consistent with the specific plan. It's just not the way the process works. The zoning is crystal clear, and your action tonight can clarify the specific plan and bring these two documents into explicit alignment. Finally, I want to say that these governing documents should be very carefully deliberated and should consider the public's input. In this case, I believe the public's concerns have been heard and have been adequately addressed. If we still believe in the vision for the South Livermore Valley Plan, which I believe we do, we need to enable more projects like this to move forward. Thank you.
Next speaker is Pete Sandu, followed by Paul Mansfield, followed by Jennifer Taggart over Zoom.
Hi, my name is Pete Sandu, and I support this project, and I applaud the developer for taking the personal risks and exercising outstanding patience and perseverance. I agree with what Trish said, where many people say, I support this, but, and then they say, oh, just tweak this or tweak that. They really don't expect you to resubmit with those tweaks. They expect you to be worn down and give up. So I applaud you for not giving up. One thing we could all be proud of is the beautiful wine region that we have, that our winemakers have worked so hard over the past few decades to develop. Some of the assumptions that these dreams were built on included, if we build it, they will come mentality. Well, we could get them to come if we could provide them with a place to stay. Please support our wine growers by facilitating the development of the inn. The real open space and the real vines that we are protecting are spread much further and wider than this individual parcel. Thank you.
Next speaker is Paul Mansfield, and in accordance with our policy, we'll finish our in-room speakers, including Carl Wente, and then Jennifer Taggart over Zoom.
Hi, my name is Paul Mansfield, and I'm here to oppose the amendment to policy 4-7 for the South Livermore Plan. The underlying pretense of this entire discussion is that the hotel will provide rooms at a price that people will be willing to pay and still make a profit. I honestly don't think this is possible, and I predict that ultimately the corner at Hanson will feature the visual remnants of a misguided idea that never really took off. My hope is that the city uses every tool at its disposal to avoid needlessly tearing up the side of this hill for this unlikely project. Fortunately, one of those tools is already in your back pocket. It's called the South Livermore Plan, and it provides codified, legitimate, written support for a denial of this proposed amendment. The original policy has been in place for over 25 years and was authored by experts and ensures that the beauty of South Livermore is preserved. You are now considering altering the South Livermore Plan to comply with the developer's drawings. Hopefully this seems as backwards to you as it does to me. You are dulling the tool we have. What continues to baffle me is this. Why is special treatment being offered to this specific plan? The project is clearly overbuilt for the size of the lot, and this fact is underscored by the parking lot and garbage setback exceptions that are being requested. The scale of this project is completely out of step with the natural character of Sycamore Grove and the intent of the plan. If the project is built as drawn, the South Livermore Plan is undermined. A new tone will be set for future developments, and future decisions, and the beauty and appeal of the area as a refuge for all Livermore residents will be greatly diminished. From an economic perspective, even if the hotel goes into operation, it will not be the savior of Livermore's wine businesses, as some have argued. Assuming there is any hope of economic viability in the first place, the city of Livermore should invite the developer to re-envision the hotel. Thank you very much for your time, for listening to my concerns. Please keep this tool sharp and please deny the amendment to policy 4-7. Thank you.
Next speaker is Carl Wente, followed by Zoom speakers Jennifer Taggart and Jeff and Amelia McDaniel.
Thank you very much, Mr. Mayor, City Council, staff, awesome folks, awesome city. Thank you. Put on bulletproof vests, go to work, keep us safe. Rest of y'all, thank you for what you do. My name is Carl Wente. Full disclosure, I live a half mile outside of town, so I don't vote for y'all, but the South Valley specific plan is very important to wine country. South Valley area plan, very important. They're very entwined in how they came to be. I don't know the history extremely well, but I try and study and try and learn how it gets there. So I'm the Chief Operating Officer at Wente Vineyards. I'm the chair of the Alameda County Agriculture Advisory Committee for East Alameda County, the Vice President of the Wine Growers Association, founding member of the Agritourism Leadership Group, which is made up of the executive directors of Livermore Downtown Inc., the Wine Growers Association, Visit Tri-Valley, Tri-Valley Conservancy, Innovate Tri-Valley, with ex officio members of Alameda County and City of Livermore. So again, thank you for trying to drive this all forward. Also founding member of Unified Livermore, and Unified Livermore fundamentally to amplify voices. And so the rational centrist can be heard in this and fundamentally tell the truth. And because it doesn't always happen as it's going through. This project, I fully support. It is compliant. The intention is very clear on off of Hanson and the 50 feet. The homeowners that live there, hopefully that was part of the deed, like the Right to Farm Act. We knew this was coming in. It's well designed. Boss has done a great job. Michelle Boss has done a great job of designing something that's needed. Is this going to save wine country? No, we need more than this, right, to help it go through. But fundamentally, lots of businesses have left. The Nottinghams go, Sacramonte goes. Other folks are leaving because we also need a downtown hotel. Are you all familiar with that project? 8 acres. We need a resort hotel in East Alameda County. So there are lots of needs. This is a drop in the ocean, but the intent is clear that it's there. The economics I can share. I'd be happy to share with anybody on the economics and the need on those room rates of what's there. I'd like the question of, do we know if the homeowners who was attached to the deed, like the right to farm, like did they know that was there and part of it? I believe that it was. Second is, let's be very careful about removing vines as something that's too scary to do.
Mr. Wente, if you could wind it up.
Fully support.
Thank you.
The next speaker will be Jennifer Taggart. The following speaker was to be Jeff and Amelia McDaniel, but they lowered their hands. So after Jennifer Taggart, we'll have Terry Land, followed by Nick Harvey. Jennifer Taggart, please unmute yourself.
Good evening, Honorable Mayor Marchand, City Council and staff. My name is Jennifer Taggart, and I'm speaking on behalf of the Tri-Valley Conservancy. The Tri-Valley Conservancy's mission is to promote economically sustainable vineyards and orchards and increase permanently protected, biologically diverse open spaces. And the City of Livermore has been one of our highly valued partners in our pursuit of meeting this objective. One of the Tri-Valley Conservancy's top priorities is ensuring the long-term prosperity of the South Livermore Valley wine country, and we were chartered to help ensure the success of the South Livermore Valley Area Plan. The Tri-Valley Conservancy commissioned a research study conducted by the University of California, Davis to examine the economic viability of the South Livermore wine region. The findings identified several challenges that need to be addressed promptly in order to restore this territory to a premier wine region. The Tri-Valley Conservancy believes that appropriate economic development in South Livermore is important to support this objective. Such economic development includes tourist hospitality accommodations and restaurants. The need for additional lodging opportunities in the South Livermore Valley area has been well documented as a way to support agritourism. As stated in the South Livermore Valley Specific Plan, the South Livermore Valley Area Plan encourages the development of new wineries and other tourist-related projects that will attract tourists and increase recognition of the South Livermore Valley as a premier wine producing region. The Livermore Valley Wine Country Inn proposal is located on one of the parcels identified within the South Livermore Valley specific plan to provide for limited small scale commercial development that supports and enhances the South Livermore Valley's image as a premium wine producing region. It further identifies a wine country inn with no more than 30 guest rooms and may have a large restaurant associated with its allowed commercial project. The Tri-Valley Conservancy is in support of the proposed Livermore Valley Wine Country Inn. We believe it will attract agri-tourists and enhance the
Ms. Taggart, if you
reputation.
could please wind up. Thank
It will enhance the reputation of the South Livermore Valley. Thank you.
The next speaker is Terry Land, followed by Nick Harvey, followed by David B. Kent. Terry Land, please unmute yourself.
Hi, thank you for the opportunity to speak in support of the project. I live in the neighborhood right down the street in Sevillano. I walk by that plot of land every day and have been walking by there for a long time. And I'm really looking forward to having an inn and restaurants and vibrancy to be able to enjoy. Part of the reason we bought in the neighborhood was the hopes that these type of projects would be built. And I like being able to walk to 5 wineries and go wine tasting. And I'm looking forward to being able to walk to a restaurant as well. Having walked on those trails every day too, Hanson Road is the perfect place to enter the inn. The sidewalk is on the north side, which would not interfere walking with the traffic. And there's already a stop sign at the corner of Hanson and Arroyo, which is the logical safe place for it to be. I feel very fortunate that Michelle Boss and Company have designed such a beautiful inn, and I would love to have that in the neighborhood. So I'm looking forward to it and fully support it. Thank you.
The next speaker is Nick Harvey, followed by David B. Kent, followed by Rhiannon Eddy. Nick Harvey, please unmute yourself.
Can you hear me? Thank you. Mayor Marchand, I'd like to, follow your advice and let you know you were heard when you said, hey, we don't need a full 2 minutes to tell everyone that we support the project. The community really needs it. It's well known that it needs it. And we'd really appreciate your support and, voting to approve this project, because when we have an entrepreneur like Michelle that hasn't given up after 3.5 years, she's not going to give up for the next 3.5 years or next 35. Thank you very much.
The next speaker is David B. Kent, followed by Rhiannon Eddy, followed by Doug Mann. David B. Kent, please unmute yourself.
Good evening. This is David Kent, and I'm speaking as an individual. I urge the council to approve this much needed and unreasonably delayed project, as it is critical to our wine country. The legislative intent of the South Livermore specific plan was clear. It called for an inn of this size, of this scale, at this location. The planning was very sound. It's a little frustrating to hear comments like, well, the council shouldn't change a technical aspect of the plan to fit a single project, when in fact, these same opponents are demanding that the council change the specific plan to create a problematic entry to the project off Arroyo Road. Again, these are technicalities. We need to focus on the intent of the lodging options that are required to have a vibrant wine country, and the city should really respect the intent of the specific plan and protect the wine country infrastructure, of which this inn will be a critical part, so that we can have a sustainable and vibrant wine growing environment here in Livermore. Thank you.
The next speaker is Rhiannon Eddy, followed by Doug Mann, followed by Linda Milanese. Rhiannon Eddy, please unmute yourself.
Thank you. Good evening, Mayor Marchand and City Council. My name is Rhiannon Eddy, and I am one of the proprietors of the Purple Orchid Wine Country Resort and Spa. Our property was built in 1997 with the South Livermore Plan. The concept was to have 20 to 25 wine country inns or bed and breakfast in place. And as we're looking at 26 years later from our opening, we have not been able to actualize that in our community. We're in very much support of Michelle Boss's plan to build the property there on Arroyo Road. We feel like it's fit into the South Pacific plan, and it will only work to improve and enhance the community. The wine region is in need of hospitality and tourism, which we can create by bringing in another hotel as well as a restaurant. We are only 10 rooms, and we know the limitations that we have by not being able to accommodate all of our tourism for the community. So we would support and recommend that we go ahead and move forward with this plan. Thank you.
The next speaker is Doug Mann, followed by Linda Milanese. Doug Mann, please unmute yourself.
So for me, the saddest part of this whole thing is that I feel like once again, what we have, well, for example, it reminds me of Garaventa Hill. Garaventa Hill, the residents were asking the council to listen to them and care about what they wanted for the city. And instead, the council sided with the developer and against their own constituents. I'm glad Carl Wente brought up the downtown hotel, for example. There's another great example of how the council asked the residents for what they wanted, and when the residents told them, they did something else. Instead, they arranged for that hotel to be on a parcel of land that doesn't really accommodate it. And I don't think that hotel will be built as a result. I think if they'd worked with the residents and cared more about what the constituents said, I think we could have had 1 or 2 hotels downtown. I wanted 2 hotels. I think you should be concerned about the precedent of changing the rules. If the South Livermore Plan accommodates a hotel there under the current rules, which it does, let it be designed that way under the existing rules. Stand with the residents. And also, we want more hotel space, but several, I think, of the speakers have gone a little bit overboard in terms of this hotel and its impact. I think is greatly exaggerated on what it's going to do to help the wine country. But please care about what the residents are asking and have the hotel built in a way that fits the rules.
The next speaker is Linda Milanese. Linda Milanese, please unmute yourself.
Good evening. I guess for me, the question is, whose interests will you represent? Do you represent Livermore and its hard-won South Livermore plan, or do you represent a developer who will profit and create a domino effect? Please don't give it all away. Once that toe is in the door, it's impossible to go back. And the big question, how will you ever say no to other vineyards who've played by the rules over the years when they come asking for the same kind of accommodation as the hotel wants? It's not just about 50 feet of vineyards. It's about the future of Livermore wine country. Please do not vote to amend the South Livermore plan with a little tweaking. Yes, tweaking. The hotel can be built without the amendment. Thank you.
Mayor, that was the final speaker.
Okay, thank you all for your comments tonight. Certainly appreciated. And so we're awfully close to 9 o'clock, and I know the folks like to take a break usually around 9. So 10 minutes? 10 minutes? Okay. We'll be back in 10 minutes. So take a breather, stretch your legs, and we'll be back here at 9 o'clock straight up. Thank you.
Mayor and council members, the time is 8:59 and TV 30 will count you in at 9 o'clock.
There you go. Good evening and welcome back to the May 22nd meeting of the Livermore City Council. We have just come back from a short break. We just heard the public comment on item 6.2, which details the Wine Country Inn proposed for Hanson Road and Arroyo. So I'd like to open it up a little bit. I certainly appreciate the public comments and thank you all for coming down tonight. And I certainly appreciate the comments and the deliberations by the Planning Commission, which were included in the packet. We've heard from a number of residents that the South Livermore Valley specific plan should not be changed. And I agree. But we heard a lot tonight about following the rules. And on page 75, section 4-35 of the South Livermore Valley specific plan, it states, the inn is presumed to have up to 30 guest rooms and a restaurant would have up to 100 seats. Access to the 2 commercial sites along Arroyo Road will be from the main sub-area entry road rather than from Arroyo Road, end quote. That sub-area road had not yet been named, as Mr. Stein pointed out. The term along Arroyo Road is significant because it identifies that that's the frontage along Arroyo Road. On page 111, section 524 of the South Livermore Valley plan, specific plan, it states, quote, the 2 sites fronting on Arroyo Road will take access from a single access point on the east-west spine road, end quote. Again, the east-west road is not named, but the document specifically refers to the frontage on Arroyo Road. And 2 traffic studies have also concluded that the entrance on Hanson Road is safer. Moving the access to Arroyo would be changing the plan. It would be changing the plan. I do not support that. We've heard many times that the inn is too large. I've heard the term used that it is massive. The inn is allowed to have 30 rooms, as I mentioned previously. That's what it has, 30 rooms. The restaurant was allowed to have 100 seats. It is proposed to have 77. Based upon the Florida area ratio, the FAR, the inn can be 32,500 square feet. The inn is proposed to be 29,345 square feet. The caretaker's unit is allowed by a conditional use permit, and it's proposed to be 2,300 square feet, which combines the totals to 31,645 square feet, which is less than the 32,500, which is allowed by the FAR. The inn is appropriately sized. Can we bring up the image from section 12.11? That's the it's page 271 from the specific plan. It was also referenced here as the drawing with the 2 side-by-side drawings. That's the one that specifically refers, there we go, thank you. So it specifically refers to, and it's labeled on these 2 drawings, the 100-foot buffer along the Arroyo Road frontage. You'll notice in the illustration that it calls for, the illustration that is on the left, the center of it, yeah, that's square. It says that it calls for a strong architectural element to create a visual presence. That was required by the specific plan. Similarly, the drawing next to it, 1213, shows no vineyards. There's no vineyards on the north side of the property. And you'll notice that that setback from Hanson Road on the drawing, it's from 2001, shows about, you've extrapolated, it's about 40 feet from Hanson Road before you hit the first building. So this demonstrates that That 100-foot setback as labeled in this drawing is from Arroyo Road. It is not listed on Hanson Road. And as I said, the 100-foot agricultural buffer on Arroyo Road is clearly marked. The drawing is labeled prototypical site plan, but the pictured cabins, as some have referenced tonight, would not create the required strong architectural element. Currently, there are no vineyards that front on Hanson Road on the end property. And as indicated on these drawings from the 2011 specific plan, there are no vineyards in this drawing, and it's a 40-foot setback. The people who oppose the clarification of the elements of the plan did not live in the area when this plan was created. The South Livermore Valley Area Plan was created in 1993, and the specific plan, as was pointed out, was created in 1997. This plan was created by visionaries like former Mayor Archer Futch, Planning Commissioner Harriet Cole, may they rest in peace, and Friends of the Vineyards founder Barbara Steer. I met with all of them in their homes as this plan was being hammered out. The planned unit development, which actually reduced the housing setbacks on Hanson Road, in some cases to less than 35 feet, that was passed in 2001. I think this is very important. Two organizations that were pivotal in the creation of the plan, Tri-Valley Conservancy and the Friends of Open Space and Vineyards, which was previously Friends of the Vineyards, both sent letters in support of the proposed council action tonight. The city also received letters of support from many of our local wineries. And as was pointed out, this type of agritourism infrastructure is critical to their survival. So I will support the action tonight to clarify the language in the South Livermore Valley specific plan. So with that, I'll bring it back to the council for any other comments. Councilmember Branning.
All right. Thank you very much. I have a number of comments and questions, but first, just kind of a general statement about things. So I know this has been back and forth going on for quite a number of years now. And I hope that everyone listening just really takes a step back and imagines what this will look like, what the actual project will be, what the actual effects will be on the safety and the surrounding neighborhoods, and really just thinks about what is going in and what can reasonably be done to accommodate the residents. I did have the pleasure of meeting with several of the opponents to this project as is. They took me on a tour, showed me the site, and I very much appreciate that and hearing from them. And so just really, I want to make sure that it is clear what's in front of us today. And we are not proposing to change the plan to meet the applicant. What we are being asked to do is to clarify the plan to make it consistent with its intent. This isn't a slippery slope argument or a change that will reverberate through history. This is simply taking conflicting documents and lining them up to make it so that it fits the clear intent that those who actually wrote the plan have come before us to say was the intent at the time of writing it. I do feel for the residents in the neighborhood who are opposed to it. I understand the concerns, particularly when I met with residents and in many of the letters we received, safety was one of the biggest concerns. I listened to the entirety of the Planning Commission's meeting. They deliberated on this for 2 hours. And so I'm very grateful to the Planning Commission for the suggestions they made, the feedback they gave, all the comments to try to improve this project, and for them going through a 2-hour meeting, really digging into the details of every part of this plan. And so with that, I have a couple questions for staff, just to make sure we are doing everything we can to address the residents' concerns. And so I'd like to start, just to clarify, for the exit from the hotel on Hanson as proposed, would there be a physical buffer preventing people from turning left?
Yes, there would be a physical buffer preventing people from turning left.
And as a follow-up to that, if we were to change the entrance to Arroyo, would it be possible to have a buffer like that?
It could be possible to have that, but like staff mentioned throughout the presentation, an entrance off of Arroyo is not recommended, but it's a possibility to provide that.
Okay. And while we're looking at, the recommendations of Arroyo, what would happen if we were, for left turns, I should say, for left turns specifically, what would happen on Arroyo if we were to allow left turns entering and exiting?
So on Arroyo Road, first I'll say that if you prohibited left turns off of Arroyo onto Arroyo, you'd prevent people from going towards the downtown. You'd be sending about half of the project traffic on a circuitous route down along Wetmore and around. So it would really be very inefficient to do that as a design mechanism. And as has been pointed out, there are more conflicts associated with Arroyo Road. You've got increased traffic speeds. There's a regional trail, so staff does not recommend that approach. But I think you probably could design something there that didn't need a buffer and could accommodate a driveway. But again, we think the preferred driveway approach really is at Hanson.
Yeah, so I bring that up because the number of conflicts that we would have on Arroyo, crossing two trails, one official trail, I suppose, depending on how you define it. But in far as practical use goes, there are two trails along that road. Crossing those trails, the left turn would either have to be prohibited, causing a great deal of diversionary traffic, or if it was allowed, I believe would be a dangerous precedent to set, or a dangerous turn, particularly being so close to a second intersection. Some other clarifying, can we have a stop sign for people exiting the inn on Hanson Road?
Yes, we can, and staff will double check that during the plan check review.
All right. And then I heard a lot of concerns about people who are biking on Hanson Road in the road. Is it possible, given that there's a relatively large sidewalk across the street from the inn on Hanson Road, can we label that to be a multi-use trail? Make sure to encourage people to bike on the sidewalk there.
Yes, the city has the authority to add signage per the municipal code to make that a trail that can be used by pedestrians and bicyclists.
Perfect. Thank you. By the way, as a side thing, I found out that in Livermore, you are allowed to bike on the sidewalk in residential neighborhoods. I never knew, but all this time, I thought I was breaking the rules. So yeah,
Did it anyway.
there's some neighborhoods where it's very scary to bike on the street. So to be safe, I bike on the sidewalk sometimes. I want to address a couple other things. So with parking is relatively tight in the neighborhoods. It was by design, relatively low. Once the inn goes in, just to make sure they are following the rules, can we have some additional enforcement of the parking in that neighborhood?
Yes, we can.
All right, easy. Also, given that Hanson Road, the design of Hanson Road and the housing on it, just out of curiosity, were the houses required also to have a 100-foot setback from Hanson Road?
No.
No. Okay. So the housing has less than a 100-foot setback on Hanson Road. Is there a reason why that was allowed under the Livermore plan?
Yeah, so the commercial uses required a larger setback, whereas the housing development basically did not need a larger setback to get the houses into the neighborhood.
My understanding is part of that is due to the fact that it was on a connector street, not a major street.
Yes, a rural collector street.
Rural collector, yeah. So with that, I really think, the city is doing the work it can to make sure that this is going to be safe for the residents. I do think that Hanson is considerably safer versus trying to cross a trail on a grade, going into a street near an intersection where cars are going notably faster. The fear of the fact that Hanson is actually a narrow road, I think works in the advantage for having the exit be on Hanson Road. As a narrow road, people will be approaching slower. There's going to be some median improvements to make sure that people are coming up slowly to the entrance from the west. It allows for easy access from the east for people to turn left. And I think with the improvements the Planning Commission proposed, we'll have a very safe exit, turning right only, allowing pedestrians, bicyclists, and cars all to be safe entering and exiting the inn. So that's all I have for right now. Again, I want to thank the Planning Commission for the tremendous amount of feedback they gave on this project that I really do think helped address some of the citizens' concerns. And I hope the people listening will look at all the changes that have been made and the accommodations being made to show that we are listening to what you have asked and making sure that we can fit it into the plan.
Thank you. Councilmember Barrientos, comments, questions?
Sure, have a couple of comments. First off, I don't think that hotel is going to be a rainmaker, because you know what that means. And people who do develop things from the way past, like Robert Moses, are not exactly great thinkers. They don't think what's going to really happen in the future. But I think a tweak could be the road exit. I think it'll make most of these people say, okay, we got something, instead of you getting everything you want. And I also think that anything built in Livermore should be built with solar panels on top too. We're going to use a lot of electricity out there. And I do side with planning that parking. I guess we're going to have you guys go through and make sure the parking's not taken up in the city streets, because I know what they are. Like in my neighborhood, we got people parked that don't belong in it, and our parking is very limited. But I do stand with the people who are living in the area. So, I think it's going to be like a big giant monolith. I do hope that it does succeed. And that's it. That's all my comments.
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Carling.
Yeah, sure. Thank you, Mayor. I also want to thank all the folks that are here taking the time to address us this evening, whether you're for or against the project. And I know that we've all gotten a number of emails over the last several weeks. I guess I also got them back a few years ago when this first came to us. So, I've been thinking about this for quite a while. So I appreciate all the correspondence that you've provided. Like my colleague, Mr. Branding, I also want to thank the planning commissioners for their diligence. And I see a couple of them here tonight for doing such a thorough job in reviewing the material, questioning staff to ensure they understood their role, and accepting all the comments from the public. I had a lot of written comments actually, but a lot of it's already been stated, so I don't know that I need to repeat much of it. I do think that it's pretty clear that in '97 the specific plan was written. In 2001, the PUD was instituted with a 50-foot setback, and apparently there was a issue with not updating the specific plan to clarify a 50-foot setback was meant for a road that didn't exist at the time that the specific plan was put together. I did look up the definition of to amend, and it's simply to clarify or make more accurate. And that's what we're doing tonight. That's what we're doing tonight, is making the South Livermore Valley specific plan more accurate than it was, but also to achieve what the intent was of the folks that put the specific plan together back in 1997 and the folks that developed the PUD back in 2001. So I also had the pleasure of meeting with a couple of the representatives from Friends of South Livermore, and I was a little surprised that they seemed sanguine about the fact that at this point, it was before the Planning Commission meeting, they seemed sanguine that the Planning Commission was going to approve the amendment, so they wanted to talk to me about the moving the entrance. I asked them if they represented all 50-ish plus people that you represent here tonight, and they said that they did. So I was a little surprised to hear that some people are still talking about changing the amendment or not approving the amendment when, at least from their point of view, that they already assumed that that was going to be a fait accompli. So let me turn to moving the entrance. I did hear one of the folks did spend some time developing another approach to how you might move the entrance to Arroyo, and observed that there were no insurmountable obstacles to moving it from Hanson to Arroyo. And I think Mr. Branning sees that as well. And I guess I don't see any insurmountable obstacles either, other than I don't agree that that's the safe thing to do. And so that's what we're talking about here, is what our opinion is versus the folks that spoke with us and have written to us in opposition to this amendment and other vote tonight. I just don't, and I've talked to plenty of experts here and staff and others asking if it would be safer to move it to Arroyo, and the answer is no. So I'm not sure why, even though it could be done, I don't think it should be done, because I don't think moving the entrance from Hanson to Arroyo is the smart thing to do. And as the mayor pointed out, it was always expected that back in 1997, when the specific plan was written, before the existence of Hanson, that the entrance to either of those commercial properties, 5D1 or 5D2, would be off of Hanson Road. There's also been some debate about, and again, we've gotten somebody provided a rather exhaustive evaluation of the Livermore wine industry and the impact that the Country Inn would have on the industry. And their conclusion was that the impact the hotel will have on the wine tourism in the Livermore Valley will be minimal. Okay. I don't think we're here to judge that tonight. That's not what we're asked to vote on. And if the developer thinks that they can make a profit, so be it. I've never built a hotel. I have no idea what the pluses and minuses are. I have no idea the financing. I trust that they've done their homework, that they think that they know what they're doing. And I certainly agree that any addition to that side of town that would enhance the tourism for the wine industry has to be a plus. Even if in the parlance of this person that wrote me this email, it was minimal, that's still better than what we have today. And I'm just very much in favor of this. And I think, I applaud Michelle Boss and the folks that she's been working with for sticking with us. I guess I'll make one last comment, and was made by one of the speakers at the very end, was to listen to the community. And I was keeping score. And so we had more people in support of this project today than were against it. So I'll speak to one of the callers and point out that we are following what the people want, and that is a wine country inn on the south part of town. So thank you very much.
Thank you, Councilor Carling. Vice Mayor Kick.
Well, Carling, that was so well done. I don't have much else to add. Other than I would like to commend our staff for their work on this. I think our staff is very well versed in having a project take far longer than we expected. and they always handle it with grace and kindness, and their leadership is directed at more than just us, but the developers and the community at large. I think I've gotten many comments about how developers working in Livermore appreciate the collaborative nature, so that we're speaking to them about what we foresee as concerns before the fact, so they can preempt those concerns. And the fact that we have a planning commission that works closely to be able to say things like, hey, didn't catch this, let's make sure it's right turn only. And that comes and is fixed before it gets to us. So I want to appreciate staff for the work they've put into this, and many other projects that we have heard basically verbatim arguments against. And with that, I would also like to appreciate the developer for sticking with us. I do have a legitimate fear that developers will give up on Livermore. It is not that the city of Livermore doesn't want things built. It is not that the council doesn't want things built. It is that it is truly exhausting to put your whole heart and sometimes financial well-being into a city whose community then attacks you viciously online. And they're just going to say it's not worth it. Why not build in Dublin? So again, I want us to work on disagreeing kindly, and appreciate staff for always dealing with those disagreements with grace and care.
Okay, thank you very much, all of your comments tonight. Are there any further comments, or I would be willing to entertain a motion?
I'll move we accept staff recommendation.
I'll second.
Okay, motion made by Councilmember Carling, seconded by Vice Mayor Kick. Any discussion on the motion? Roll call, please.
Councilmember Barrientos,
No.
Councilmember Branning,
Aye.
Councilmember Carling,
Aye.
Vice Mayor Kick,
Aye.
Mayor Marchand.
Aye. Passes 4-1. Thank you all very much. Thank you for your comments tonight. And let's work together to see if we can get this thing done and something we can all be proud of. Okay, matters for consideration. We have none. Now we go back to the open forum. Do we have any public comment?
Yes, we do. First speaker is David McWigan, followed by Jean King, followed by Keith Rothenberg.
Okay.
I don't believe David McWigan is with us any longer. Jean King.
Don't forget your cane. And don't forget your cane. I don't want you to trip on the way in.
Bob knows what I'm gonna do. Okay,
Break into song.
I put her up to this.
okay. I am very discouraged about the huge amount of single-use plastics that are inundating our planet. The Great Pacific Garbage Patch is overwhelming, but during the pandemic, when I was getting lots of takeout food, I thought maybe I could do something about what is happening in Livermore. I thank staff person Judy Erdlitzson for her quick responses and very helpful information about the city's rules, including Chapter 8.20 disposable food service waste. I thank Councilperson Carling for listening to my frustration and giving me information from Stop Waste. So I collected food containers from Livermore. Livermore Sanitation very patiently verified and helped me label which ones are compostable, recyclable, or just garbage. I brought them here this evening to share with you. From my limited sample, not all of the food services in Livermore are following the rules. If the city of Livermore is setting the rules, The city should set a good example. I recently, where is the one? Okay, this is it. Okay, I recently went to the Daily Grind in the Civic Center Library and got a delicious smoothie in this plastic cup with a plastic straw. And I consumed it on the premises. It is not reusable by the establishment. It is not compostable. It is not recyclable. It is single-use garbage. I believe the city rules state that takeout containers should be compostable or recyclable. The city is working on rules for in-premise utensils and containers to be reusable and not single-use. I asked the city of Livermore to set a good example, follow the rules, and to encourage and enforce the rules of others. Utensils and containers used on premises should be reusable and not single-use. Takeouts containers should be compostable or recyclable. So Donna is helping me. I have 2 bags. One bag, that bag, okay, which is the majority of the things that I've gotten from things. They have no stickers on them. They are all single-use garbage. And we can take them out and show them to you if we have time, but I'm running out of time. The other bag, okay, those are all those. The other bag, which was done, these are compostable or recyclable. And the letters say, if it's got a little green sticker, it's compostable. If it's got an orange sticker, then we find an orange sticker. But all the other ones, I've got them labeled here. I would be glad to share them with you. And they are, okay, that's compostable. Okay, and I would be glad to show you all these, but you probably don't want to see them. But one of the ones that has been changed in our things, I just did want to show you, these used to be compostable, but they're no longer there, but they are recyclable. Okay, so I've got them if anybody wants to see them, but I just wanted to make my points and think that we need to do better in Livermore. And I know you're trying and you've got the rule there, but you need to enforce it. Okay.
So a couple of things. So you don't have to cut the spout out of the milk cartons. That's one of the reasons that it's recyclable. It used to be that milk cartons went into the compost, but now you can leave the spigot in there. You don't have to cut them out because it is recyclable. So saves you that hassle.
Okay, well, I have still been taking them out, but thank you.
But I'm saying, but you can put those in recycling without having to cut out the spout.
Right. But anyway, we've got to cut down our single-use plastic things. And
One that drives me crazy. I was talking trash with Sheila Faliano. She's got a wonderful road show that she does.
Yeah.
And I took this black plastic container that said recyclable, had the number on it, and it's not recyclable. It
Right.
says it's recyclable, but it's not.
Yeah,
So
because
this is difficult.
Yeah, because they give out all these senior meals and
Yeah.
the restaurants do a lot too. They're the black bottoms and the other top.
They're not
right?
recyclable.
And none of them are recyclable. Yes.
Tragic.
Yes. we
Thank
are
you
lucky.
for bringing that to our
Oh,
attention.
You're very welcome. Anytime I will bring my trash to you.
We can always talk trash together, right?
I have a clarifying question for staff. Daily Grind is not owned and operated by the city, correct?
It is not, Vice Mayor.
Okay, I just wanted, it's a city building that we let somebody else
lease
use.
someone.
We are not the ones.
That
doing
is correct.
We
The
don't-
private business that leases from us.
Yes.
Mr. Ruttenberg.
Thank you. Mayor Marchand, members of the city council. A lot of discussion tonight about aesthetics, following the codes and maintaining the beauty of the Livermore Valley wine country. I use the Arroyo Mocho Trail, which runs from Concannon to Isabel Avenue in Livermore several times a week. I often stop at Robertson Park and Mocho Park, which are along the way. I attended the April 18th, 2023 Planning Commission meeting in this very building. I'm appalled that the Planning Commission has approved allowing AT&T to install a 70-foot tall cell phone tower in the tiny Mocho Park, which is bounded by the Arroyo Mocho, Mocho Street, and Holmes Avenue. The approved tower is one of those ugly plastic-wrapped mono trees with 20-foot diameter plastic branches starting 15 feet above the ground that is so obviously fake and obnoxious 2.5 tons of plastic that the previous speaker was just speaking about. This park is somewhere around 3 acres in surface area. The proposed tower is supposed to be disguised as a tree, but I estimate that this fake tree will be at least twice as tall as any other tree in the park and would ruin the character of this lovely park. Proposed cell phone tower is an eyesore, in my opinion, and this tiny city park is no place for a project like this. According to city staff documents, the maximum height for a cell tower structure in this part of the city, which is primarily comprised of single level structures, is not allowed to exceed 35 feet according to the city code. The Planning Commission is also allowing this project to be installed 145 feet from a residence where the code requires 200 feet. During the meeting, Commissioner Pinchenko repeatedly asked city staff why the code has the 200-foot from a residence requirement. Staff finally admitted that they do not know why this requirement is in place. And additionally, that they had already allowed this variance to the code for other installations of cell towers. Commissioner Dunbar, still in the audience here, asked the city staff if they were setting precedent by approving the variances from the code for this project. City staff replied that no, this was not setting precedent, which seems to me to be contradictory to the facts. It appears that one bad decision justifies the next. When asked by the commissioners about any available master plan for cell tower installations, city staff stated that they have a list of preferred sites, but it is unclear to me how these sites have been selected, and it seems that there has not been any public input on any part of this selection process. Is our city going to be filled with 70-foot or higher cell phone towers located too close to our residences, with the telecom industry sneaking them through one at a time? Please reject this project. Please send a clear message that we need to maintain the character of our city. It's been discussed ad nauseum tonight, and not allow projects like this that violate our codes and create visual blight. Would you approve it on Hanson and Arroyo roads? Thank you so much for your attention.
Thank you, Mr. Ruttenberg. I believe this is going to be coming to the Council on Appeal in September, I think. So stay tuned. It'll be coming on appeal to the council.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Final speaker is John Stein.
John Stein, 1334 Cathy Court. There's been proposed a joint bond measure between the Park District, the school district, and the city. I urge you to consider trees as a capital improvement. We've lost a lot of trees, as you pointed out, with the redwoods because of drought and the recent storms. A properly planted tree, large, long-lived, has a lifespan of 50 to 100 years, and some trees actually live for thousands of years. But I urge you to consider them as a capital improvement rather than a maintenance issue. It also is important for the climate action plan. The other issue is the fire station being proposed for the Isabel development. You might want to look at a multi-purpose building, multi-service center, library, possibly a police substation, and a meeting hall. A library particularly would offer a place for the children after school, particularly latchkey children. Finally, I'd like to thank you for the efforts you made in upholding the South Livermore Valley specific plan. I believe that did clearly represent the intent. And many people, Harriet Cole, Archer Futch, Valerie Raymond, Margaret Tracy, Don Miller, myself, not only worked on that plan, but also founded Friends of the Vineyards. And I think hopefully those actions will outlive us by a long time. And for Councilmember Kick's comments, all cities have people who object to change. Livermore may be slightly different in that they're slightly better financed, but it's no different in any city I've ever been to a council meeting on. Thank you.
People love progress, but they hate change.
People don't like change. People like bars on their phones, but don't like cell towers. By the way, if it is taller than the tallest tree, plant taller trees.
And thank you for your history tonight with regards to the South Livermore Valley specific plan. It's greatly appreciated because you lived that. Thank you. You have the scars to prove it.
We have one additional speaker over Zoom.
Okay, in that case, we're going to close the, oh, one more? Oh, I thought that you said that was our final speaker. Oh, okay, very good.
Carl Wente, please unmute yourself.
Mr. Mayor, City Council, once again, thank you for what you do. City Manager, thank you for what you do. City Attorney, thank you for what you do. All the great leaders that you have coming through in an environment where I want to listen to the constituent, make tough decisions sometimes. And so thank you for continuing to just move us forward. Already expressed the thanks to those who put on a bulletproof vest, keep us safe, wear a badge all the way through. Appreciation goes out to just continue to make our community awesome. I would like to double down on the thanks to John Stein for continually being well-read and informed and has a historical knowledge to all of this, how it came to be, what was the intent and how this all looked. I remember riding my dirt bike on non-existent Hanson Road out there and like where we are today. So I just appreciate us trying to move forward in a healthy way that reflects our community and reflects the intentions of how we set to lay this out. I want to agree resoundingly with Mr. Shin is that there's nothing quite as good as trees from an energy standpoint, from an air quality standpoint, from a health standpoint, from a biophilia standpoint of we're naturally predisposed to want to see the beauty of nature, and it makes our brain chemistry more healthy and better. So the more trees and the taller trees that we get into the ground is good for generations to come. So resoundingly supporting that one. And Gene King's comments on single use and plastic, don't call it an epidemic, I'll use that language, but just the amount of plastics, the amount of Starbucks stuff that I throw away. I try and avoid it like the plague because I want to go to reusable places. So again, thank you for your comments, Gene King, on that. But just the amount of waste coming through there. And it's a great place for us to continue to take a lead as you have continued to done continually, as Livermore's continually done on a lot of important issues. So resounding thanks for what you do. And a final thanks to Michelle Boss for persevering. And wine country, this one wine country ain't going to solve all the problems in wine country, but it is a step in the right direction. So thank you, City Council, moving forward. And I said last thanks, but one last thanks, the time and effort that the Planning Commission goes into reviewing all of that, the effort, the detail, and the likes. Just want to say thank you and salute those that step up to serve our community. Namaste, peace out, catch you later.
That was the final speaker, Mayor.
Okay, thank you very much. Moving on to committee reports and matters initiated. We'll start on this side. Councilmember Barrientos.
Okay, did have Verlink. I think somebody went here. Some here went. Anyway, they just did an update on what's going on with the Verlink, and they showed us models of the trains that they're gonna. Were you there?
I was there.
Oh yes, you were there. Okay. Anyway, so that's what it was all about. Then I had EBCE, and we went through the budget. So the 23-24 budget and what they plan to do and how they're gonna spend the money. And the third thing is I'm on a subcommittee now for the EBCE, and it's again talking about what they want to do in the budget, and my committee is marketing and accounting.
All right, very good. Thank you. Councilmember Branning.
Thank you. Aside from the things in the written report, I don't have other events to report out on, but it is coming to the end of May, and just I want to give some appreciation to the many organizations in Livermore that are hosting events over the last few weeks and coming months. We're really into one of my favorite seasons in Livermore, which is early summer. I'm not as big a fan of the heat in late summer, but this is the time of year where I think our city really shows just how amazing it is. There are multiple events happening every weekend for the next several weeks. all of them really shining a light on Livermore's amazing heritage, amazing culture, and all of the great people we have in our city. So I look forward to attending a variety of those. I've been to many recently, and good night.
Great, thank you. We just had that Street Fest, which was a lot of fun. Councilmember Carling.
Yes, thank you. So on the 10th, I had a ride along with our homeless liaison officers, Andy Graycar and Paul Warnke, and met with and talked to 8 people, 8 unsheltered people in our community, several of whom live under the freeway. And of the 8, 5 were female. And they all had family in town, including 2 of the women had children who lived in town, not with them. So we continue to struggle with the unsheltered, and they're people that grew up here in this community and still have family here, but for a number of reasons can't live with other folks and within their own families. So it's really a shame, but it's again eye-opening when I go out and have the opportunity. And Josh Thurman was the one that actually helped put that ride along together for me. So I appreciate Josh doing that. To my colleague, Mr. Branning, on the 13th, I went to the wine down in the Grove. I know he was working. And a certain former city manager was the MC for this thing. Anyway, it was at Ravenswood, and it's just a beautiful, beautiful area. I hadn't been there in a little while, but it was a glorious day, and it was a wonderful event. It's again a fundraiser for the LARPD Foundation. Very, very nice. On the 17th, like my colleague, Mr. Barrientos, I went to the Valley Link presentation on the utilization of hydrogen and hydrogen fuel cells for the rail cars, and we got an update on that. On the 18th, I, along with some of my colleagues, went to the Livermore Police Department Volunteers Appreciation Dinner, taco truck at the barn. It was very, very nice evening, again, honoring those folks that volunteer with our police department. And I know it was just mentioned, but my wife and I went to the Downtown Street Fest yesterday. There were hundreds of people there. It was just amazing. In the parking lot next to the bankhead, they had a bunch of kids rides set up. It was just wonderful to see those things. And again, great family atmosphere, terrific. So we took the opportunity to actually get a glass of wine and sit there at Shea Plaza by the bankhead drinking our wine when the band started up. I thought I recognized the lead guitarist, and I went over and looked, and sure enough, it was Bob Vinn, our chief engineer, up there playing lead guitar, rocking out, right? It was just a wonderful evening. I don't know whether Bob is still on Zoom or not. I saw him on there earlier, but I saw you playing guitar there, Bob. So well done. So the only thing I want to ask, to the point Gene King made, is I know I asked for consideration of the model ordinance that Stop Waste was putting together or suggesting that we look at. I was wondering if we couldn't get an update on progress at some point. Maybe just a memo would be good, but I'd like to have an update on where we stand with that, please. We do that?
Absolutely. Through the mayor, Councilmember Carling will provide an update in an upcoming critical projects report.
Perfect. Thank you very much.
Vice Mayor.
Nothing, no official meetings to report, but I was happy to be able to attend the Avance grand opening. That was a just really amazing event. The presentations were all fine and good, but the best part was speaking directly to parents. One parent had been on wait lists for their son since their son was 16. He's now 26. This is the first time he's ever got his application pulled even to get to round 2. The parent knowing that 18 is when he would be planning to leave, but I better get ahead of it at 16. And then it took 10 years. Was sad to hear. I know there was over 600 something applications for 45 spots. So we need more of these. It's beautiful. And the parents were thrilled to have their kids somewhere safe. And Max and I also got thoroughly sunburned at the Street Fest. So it is officially sunscreen season. As we learned, playing a game where you try and get a chicken in the pot over and over again. So yeah, we had a great time. Shout out to Ruby and her team for putting on a fantastic event. And that's all I've got.
Okay, great. Thank you very much. Lots of stuff going on. It's amazing. Avance was incredible. The parents that are concerned that their children will never be able to live independently, and that's something that is really remarkable, that they can live independently now. And Avance is designed to be just this wonderful community. And what's really cool is it's at the Shannoni House, which was Robert Livermore's grandson. So it's this wonderful historic place that now has 9 buildings that create this wonderful community, and a lot of these young people work across the street. So it's an amazing community. On the 13th, there was the Living Arroyos. We had another group of volunteers. You know, we had the Community Service Day was the week before. Well, on the 12th was, the 13th was another Community Service Day with a group of from Living Arroyos and also from Supervisor Haubert's office. So we're actually down at Robertson Park and cleaning up the plastic and litter down in the arroyo. So taking care of part of that problem. Let's see, on the 14th, I was at a remarkable Eagle Scout Court of Honor. We had 6 Eagle Scouts at this Court of Honor. It was quite a remarkable occurrence, and just a great bench of young adults. Again, on the 18th was the Livermore Citizens Police Academy Alumni Association, and they volunteer hundreds of hours back to this community so we can do things like the Street Fest and like the rodeo parade and all of these wonderful things that we can do in town because we have the volunteers helping out. And on the 19th was at a graduation. These were the Veterans First program at Las Positas College, the #1 community college in the state of California, #6 in the country. So they were graduating a group of veterans. So it was quite a remarkable celebration. And today I had a town hall at Heritage Estates to a packed house. So it was a lot of fun. So with that, there being no further business coming before the city, I'm going to adjourn the meeting to a regular meeting on June 12th. Have a good evening. Thank you.